And so watching it, you're like, and they do such a good job of making you feel anxious because you're like,
Really?
you get every beat, you're like, oh, this is important, this is important, this is important, this is important. And then it's not. And you're
And
like,
then nothing's
that's
important.
and then nothing's important. And that was the point. And so when you leave the movie, you're like, not only did I love that, but why did I love that? You know what I mean?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a special episode of Think Outside the Blue Box podcast. Today, I am being joined again by my co-host, Joshua. Joshua, what's going on, man?
Going good. I'm kind of excited about this episode. I'm kind of nervous.
You ready to talk movies?
I love talking movies. We'll get to it.
So the Oscars are coming tomorrow. We tried to watch all of the nominated movies so we could talk about them and go in depth, but I just didn't get to all of them, but we got to most of them. So we are actually joined by a second co-host today. Her name is Ava, and she's going to be helping us out with any fact-finding or anything that we have, any questions that we have about any of the movies that were nominated. So say hi to everybody, Ava.
Hey, everyone. I'm here to help keep things fun and maybe drop some movie facts along the way. Let's dive into these nominees.
What do you think?
That's awesome.
I named
crazy.
her. I named her. I told you she has a pronoun.
No, we're here. We made it. Like, forget it. Let's not even pretend like the future's here. The future is now. We've officially just given up. We're like, you know what? They're sentient.
This is it. All right, so let's just jump right in, man. What are we thinking? So just kind of giving you an overview. The Oscars are tomorrow, the 15th. They're going to be hosted by Conan O'Brien. First of all, what do you think about the hosting choice?
Conan has done a lot of hosting. I think he's done the Oscars before. I know he's done other award shows. Yeah, right? He's fine. I think Conan is hilarious. But I also think that, the host of award shows have one of the hardest jobs in the world because you have to make people laugh. You have to be able to roast the right people. And then
you have to be politically correct. You can't say the wrong thing. Yeah.
You can push the limits, but it's also there's so much pressure and without the right writers. I think what was the year that they had no writers whatsoever? You remember that year? Will you ask Ava what year that was? I'm curious to know. There was a year where the Oscars there were no writers. It was a writer's strike was happening, so nobody wrote the show. Like, there was no writers for the Oscars.
Ava, what was the year that the Oscars had no writers? When was the writer's strike?
That was back in 2008. The Writers Guild of America strike meant the ceremony had no written jokes or scripted banter. Definitely an unusual Oscars.
No, I guess not. Maybe she's right. Maybe it was 2008. But it is interesting to me that it is interesting to me that they even have writers for the show because, I don't know. I mean, no, it makes sense that they have writers, but I think that, what I mean is, writers for, when people are presenting and stuff like that, but, for the idea of creating something that, it is essentially live, right? And almost 100% live.
Yeah, they're on a delay, but yeah, they are live.
So you think to yourself, you kind of have to, adjust to the situation, right? I mean, when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, the writers are like, the fuck do we do with that?
That was a wild moment, dude. That to me was the true test of a host, because Chris Rock kept his composure. If it was me, I would have walked off the stage in front of millions of people. I would have been like, security, security right here. I was just assaulted.
Like, you know what? I'm good. I'm out. I'm going to call my lawyer. We're going to figure this out.
You're going to run the rest of the show without me.
No, and I think what's the thing about the show in general is interesting is that it has to be entertaining, not just for the guests, because, remember, these people are literally just sitting there waiting to either be awarded or being disappointed, but also for the spectacle of filming it and putting it out there. These award shows are so performative and ceremonial that it's almost like, I don't know, maybe there'll be a time when we don't even have to do this whole ceremony. We'll just get a fucking list of winners.
No,
the winner.
No, I don't.
No, I hate it. You know what the thing is about the ceremony is that it's always so long. I prefer for it to be done and then get the highlights. But ironically, speaking of like, in the future of these like mini soap operas that we're getting, these vertical shorts that we're getting, I think that there might be, well, the ceremony might still happen the way it happens, but there might be a future where the Oscars or, these ceremonies will embrace the smaller format and then just have like the highlights posted. And so you don't have to watch the whole show. You can just go on the Oscars TikTok and just see the people's speeches, see who won, see whatever without having to see all the pomps and circumstance. So
Yeah, no, and there are some award shows now, like some of the smaller ones where it's like a room full of like maybe 30 people and they don't necessarily broadcast it widely. And then you do kind of get those little clips on social media afterwards. Then that's how
yeah,
I kind of catch up with them. But yeah, no, I agree that the Oscar show has been like hyped up so much. I don't know if hype is the right word, but like it's been extended and like they treat it like, and it is my Super Bowl. I'll admit, like this is the show that I literally watch every single year. Some people, have the political stance, and this has been, people pay for these awards and that kind of stuff. Keep your negativity at home, okay? This is my Super Bowl. Let me have some fun. I love movies. I love Hollywood. And this is the one day out of the year where I literally sit down with a bag of popcorn and I literally watch the entire show. But that being said, I think it is too long, man. I think it's like what, 3 hours long, and it just goes on and on and on. And some of these speeches go on and on and on. So yeah,
yeah.
it's a little dragged
It
out,
is.
but
I mean, the Oscars were created essentially as a management tool, right? So they were fearing unionizations. They had all of these scandals. The world of Hollywood just was getting out of control. And the idea was sort of to popularize that, like, no, but you have to understand, out of all these movies, look at how great this one person was,
mhm.
or this one director, this one movie was incredible. And it really was to create an elite club, which has done a very good job of it overall.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
we're talking now, what Oscars is this, the 98th? So we're talking almost
Yeah,
100 years
that's
of
wild.
giving people awards for the sake of uh, image,
Yeah,
So, but there is such an emphasis. Like, if you are an Oscar nominated, Oscar winning person, your career it's ready to take off. You're ready to really become a star. And
it's
while that has
validation.
its own, yeah, it's validation. I mean, you do all this hard work, you want to be,
Hmm.
awarded for it. I do appreciate the years where people are being recognized correctly, but I do hate that a lot of times things are just recognized for the sake of politics or for the sake of money, because all of these, like, for your consideration campaigns are absolutely bullshit, in my opinion. I was like,
Absolutely, yeah.
you should not have to you should not be able to campaign to gain votes
A nomination,
when
yeah.
it should be based on merit and quality. But
Yeah.
then again,
And then again, I use it more for because like especially nowadays, there is so much content out there, man. There's movies coming out left and right, and there's just not enough time on. We were talking about this before the show. Like time seems so scarce now. Like it's going by
yeah,
so quickly. There's only so many hours in a day, especially for someone who's as busy as we are. So for me, when the nominations come out, is almost like a list to watch, right?
right,
It's like
right,
this is the creme of the crop. This is the stuff that kind of stood out to us. So then I go in and I'm like, okay, now I have a list of movies that I need to check off for this year of the must watch. I mean, obviously I'll watch more, but this is the kind of like the list to watch, and I
yeah,
do, and yeah, I'm very. I can't wait to get into this year's nominees because they are superb. Some of them
yeah.
stand out more than others, but this year I think they did a great job.
Do you also take into consideration like the Critics' Choice Awards, the BAFTAs, independent films, um, like all of the other ones? Or do you focus mainly on the Oscars?
I think the Oscars is like the pinnacle, right? It's like the top of the pyramid, but I think the other ones are more of like a predictive index. It's like it's like feel the pulse of what the people are feeling about this movie or that movie. So some get more nominations than others. So I use that kind of like a okay, well maybe the Oscar is going to go to this movie because it's won so many awards in the previous ones. But I don't see that as like a guide or anything like that. It's just I use it more like predictive, try to predict what the Oscar is gonna what the outcome of the Oscar is gonna be.
Yeah. I think that for me, the list of the Oscars is a great starting point, and then I started over the last couple of years sort of branching out because I like the idea that like okay, the Oscars is really they're doing their thing, but they in in the grand scheme of things, what I've noticed is that the Oscars become more of an American United States thing, even though it's worldwide recognized. It's more like of a U.S. thing because then the BAFTAs is very UK oriented, and they're both weighed almost the same. You win a BAFTA, it's about as good as getting an Oscar. But if you win an Oscar, it's better recognized around the world. Where if you get a BAFTA, it's not necessarily recognized in America. People are like, "What the fuck is a BAFTA?" And it's like, "Well, you're an ignorant idiot. So you know nothing
What's a
about
BAFTA?
movies. What do you know about film?" But like, it is interesting because I do find I every year that I've done this, where I've watched the nominees, I have found that a lot of them are incredible quality, and I do think that they deserve to be nominated. However, I do also wonder where we stand on, there was a time before. Are they still doing it now, actually? Before I continue, are they still doing the idea of like big blockbusters versus film? You know how like they had like, like they're like, okay, well, we can't put Avatar next to, whatever, because it's like, it's a humongous blockbuster. Of course, something like that's going to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think
Didn't
there's
they
still a
separate those
distinction.
categories?
I don't know if they separate them, but I think they are treated a little bit differently. I think some of those aren't nominated as much as like the big film, big blockbuster ones.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I think there was talks about separating the nominees so that it was like, I think it was like they were considering like 5 and 5, or maybe no,
Hmm.
maybe that's what it did. They were going to separate, but instead they expanded it to 10 so that it gives the opportunity for big blockbusters to be a part of the list, but also
And
allow
compete. Yeah.
something smaller with like Hamnet and stuff like that. So
What I love is the fact that they are no longer treating animation as a genre. I love that, now an animated movie can be nominated as a best picture because me as an animator, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, but that's what I went to school for. That's my jam, right? I'm an animator, and animation to me is not a genre. It is a style of storytelling. You can have dramas that are animated. You can have action movies that are nominated. You see, so it's not a genre. It's just a type of
right,
movie. So I'm just glad that it's getting the recognition that it deserves.
yeah. Speaking of animation, before we go into the actual movies, which animated movie this year were you like, it better fucking win?
The only one from that list that I haven't seen is Zootopia 2. And I've heard it's pretty good. It's not as good as the first one, so that kind of pushes it to the side for me. I will honestly tell you, out of the ones that are nominated, I would say K-pop Demon Hunters is my favorite. And I
It
never
has to
thought I
be.
would say that. I never thought I would say that. Your sister is actually the one that got me to watch the movie, man.
Yeah.
Because for me, it was like, yeah, K-pop. Yeah, I like K-pop. She bang, that kind of stuff. And Gangnam
I'm
Style,
dead.
like I
Not she
like
bang.
like I like K-pop, but I never thought that I would like it this much as when I watched this movie. And not only was the music good, the music is great. I know it's gonna win a best original score, but just the movie itself, man, the story was great. It was
Hmm.
surprisingly well made, and
It was very well crafted.
yeah. And I'm glad Netflix is putting emphasis back on not only animation, but like even traditional animation, like stop motion stuff is coming out now. Like all this old stuff that kind of got pushed to the side when Pixar, kind of blew up and started making CG movies. Like all this other like artistic style of movie making is making a comeback, thanks to Netflix, and K-pop Demon Hunter is just up there for me, man. I think
Yeah.
if that was nominated for Best Picture, I would give it to it. It's that
Yeah.
good. And people
I
and
do
people think of like I'm crazy. Like K-pop, really? No, watch it. I'm telling you. Like
watch
if
it.
somebody hadn't forced me to watch it, I wouldn't have watched it.
I know you hear the song Golden everywhere, so you're like, it's definitely hopefully gonna win best whatever song that whatever
Or original
category that
song. Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Yeah. But you hear Golden everywhere. You know it's about K-pop Demon Hunters. You know
Hmm.
it's an animated movie, and then you've already alienated a bunch of audiences. Because for one, you think animated kids. You also think if it is a kids movie, why the hell as an adult would I watch it? And then the other thing is it's Sony Picture Animation, and they did the Spider-Man movies, the animated Spider-Man movies, and so this movie is in that same style. Yeah, and those are geared not just to the younger audiences, but also to people
Hmm.
who are into really in the Marvel and the Spider-Man universe. Like they're enjoying this expansion. And so I think Sony Picture Animation is coming into, a field that like is actually capturing a lot of audiences, which is probably why they've had so much success. I don't know anything about Goat, which is the movie that came after K-pop Demon Hunter, but K-pop Demon Hunters is fantastic. So my sister sat me down. She's like, "Let's watch it because I want you to watch it. You should watch it." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'm here with my nieces and nephews and my sister. I might as well like just enjoy the movie."
Yeah.
The first 30, not even, I think like the first 30 minutes, the first song, I was like, "That's it. I'm in. Let's
It
do
caught
this."
me.
It's
Yes, it
so
grabs you
good.
right away.
It's like, what? How did they come up with this? And then the rest of the movie is incredible. Like the way that the movie, the way that the story unfolds, some people would be like, well, of course that's how it unfolds. It's like, yeah, but of course that's how it unfolds. But also the story, the image, the theme, the way that it landed, that could have been a million ways that it did, and the way that it was written and outlined was actually pretty brilliant. So then by the time I've always said this. So it's like, no matter how good or bad a movie is, like if you consider, because it's objective, depending on
Mm,
the person who's watching the movie, they're going to decide whether or not they think it's good or not. And,
right.
that's another argument. But if you're watching a terrible movie, or one that is generally considered terrible, and then the payoff you get after watching that movie is incredible, that's all that matters. And for me, watching any movie, even the Oscar nominations we're going to talk about, it's like if the payoff that I got after finishing it was incredible feeling, an incredible moment, of a hope to watch it again and have that same feeling, that's what then the movie's a success. And I think K-pop Demon
Yeah.
Hunters just did that very well, because at one point or another you thought the story could go one way, but it didn't. And the way that it did go, you're like, actually, that's probably better, So I don't know. I think it was a really good movie. But I was
Yeah.
curious about that because I hadn't seen the other ones. So, and I was
Elio
like,
was good. Elio was good, but I think Pixar has kind of fallen by the wayside when it comes to storytelling. I think the heyday of Pixar is kind of behind them at this point. Now it's more about, sequels and that kind of stuff. And every once in a while they'll come up with something like Elio, but it just doesn't hit, man. For me, it just doesn't hit like Toy Story did, or the original
right,
Incredibles. Like it just, I don't know, they just lost that little bit of magic that they had, and I don't know. Now it's more of a cash cow for Disney.
for
I
sure,
I
for sure.
actually like the Disney animated ones better than Pixar nowadays. Yeah, like Encanto, Strange World, Raya and the Last Dragon, like that kind of stuff is to me better storytelling than anything that Pixar has put out.
Those weren't Pixar?
Yeah, those weren't Pixar. No.
Cool.
Yeah.
So Disney Animation Studios is essentially
It's
Pixar.
still a separate entity. Yeah, it's still a separate entity.
Oh,
Even though they're both under the Disney umbrella, Pixar has always been its own thing. And I think that was the original agreement when Steve Jobs kind of teamed up with Disney, is that they said, Pixar is something special. I'd like to keep it separate from the animation, the Disney animation. But I don't know, man. I think maybe some of the animators came over to the Disney side and just kind of, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened, but the talent is more leaning towards Disney animation for me.
animated movies always get a bad rap just for being
Hmm.
animated, because some people are like, I don't want to like watching animation. I can't
It's for
connect to it. And I
kids,
was like,
yeah.
you're crazy. You're insane. Because there's people who are actual adults, human beings who are creating these stories, and they're worth telling, and they're nice and they're cool, and they might not be like groundbreaking, and it might not change your life, and tomorrow you're not going to consider something new, but like either they're going to be
But
entertaining,
some
they're going to be
do.
sweet, they're going to touch
But
you,
some
yeah,
do.
and
Like
then
the movie Coco literally changed my life.
mm,
That's one of my favorite animated movies, and it gets such a bad rap because like the characters are cutesy, and if you just watch the trailer, you're like, oh no, this is for kids. But if you watch it, like the themes that it touches is something that, to me, a live action version of that would not hit as hard. Like there's something about it being animated that just, I don't know, it has a special vibe, it has a special feeling to it
right,
that you just can't replicate in a live action. And then there's like special effects and things that you can do in animation that you just can't do in live action without it looking like a special effect. It's, I don't
yeah,
know,
that's
it's just a
fair,
different way of storytelling. And
yeah.
yeah, I think more adults should give it a shot.
Well, now that we've successfully analyzed all of the Oscars, what's the first movie you want to talk about?
Well, there is one thing I want to hit before we jump into the movies, and that's, did you see that Harrison Ford got the Lifetime Achievement Award from the SAG-AFTRA?
I did not know that. No.
Oh, dude, you have to watch that speech. I'm gonna play a little clip from it because it was one of the most emotional moments that I've ever seen from Harrison Ford, from anyone really. Because like Harrison Ford has literally defined my childhood.
Been around for so long. Jesus.
Everything that he's been in like is gold to me, and he's such a great actor, and I'm so glad that SAG-AFTRA is actually recognizing him with a Lifetime Achievement Award, because I don't think anybody alive right now has accomplished more than this man. And he got so emotional. Like his speech was very, very touching, very moving, because like just the fact that he's, and you've worked with him, right? Like you worked with Harrison Ford and Ender's Game, so you know how he struggles with, you know, delivering his lines and remembering his script. And just the fact that this man has been able to successfully maintain his career this long is a miracle.
It's a miracle. Yeah.
It's a miracle. But he's such a good actor, man, when he does remember his lines and he's not smoking weed, you know.
When he's not self-medicating. Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, honestly, it's impressive. One, he's also very like he's very concentrated. He's like a very stoic, concentrated man. And I'll never forget walking by him, and I don't think he noticed anyone else was around. I think he was just focused on like, I have a job to do. I have to go this. I got to go to my trailer. I got to go on set. And but I think that that mentality of like it's almost like taking your job seriously mentality. You know, there's a lot of people who are in Hollywood who just like they just want to be rock stars, and but at the end of the day, like you have to deliver. And
Yeah.
you know, the people who deliver get recognized. I mean, we're talking Meryl Streep is known for being on set, and like even before that, her she does a whole, you know, what does she call it? The whole preparation where she's like right before she gets on set, like it's just she talks about how it's bad. Everything she does is bad, and she doesn't really like seeing it. She doesn't think people should see that portion because you have to just like go through it, and then eventually it starts to get good, and then eventually it starts to hone in, and then eventually you really capture the character, and then all of a sudden you're able to go on set and do your thing. Taking all of those steps and making it seriously to get to that point where you can deliver is the reason Meryl Streep gets recognized for her talent. And it's like there's a lot of people who just show up on set and don't even know their line. And I think it's impressive for someone like Harrison Ford to have had the career that he has based on, I mean, he wasn't even supposed to be an actor. What was he, a carpenter? And he was starting when he was
Yeah.
30. And it was like, he was just like, and I don't know if
He
that
was
was always his
pulled into
dream.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. It just and I look at him, you know what I mean? And I think it's crazy because, you know, there's something to be said about this art form of filmmaking where, you know, accepting somebody who truly embodies what a good actor is and in knowing what that means because a lot of people don't, you know, some people want to be actors and I you know, I see a lot of them being, you know, being in New York City I encounter a lot of people who really want to be actors, and I've seen a couple of people in their reels and the way they act, and I've even helped you know some people with their self tape so that like they can submit for auditions. And sometimes I'm like, listen, I don't want to be that guy because I'm like I don't know everything. I'm not perfect. I'm not in the film industry anymore, but that was awful. And it's like. Are you doing the research? And then I remember asking one actor, I was like, did you look up reference material? Do you know what the character might, you know, what they might want from this character? It's like, well, it's just on audition. I was like, okay, hear me out.
That tells me a lot about you.
It tells
Yes.
me everything I need to know. You're telling me that you get a character, you get a sheet, you get lines, you get direction, and you think to yourself, oh, I'm just going to read it off the paper. No, there's a reason you're not getting roles. You have to flesh out the character. You have to like, you know, you're
You have
like
to
this, you
embody
know,
this person. Yeah.
yeah, and it's hard. It's not easy. And I think that it's impressive. I mean, even when he couldn't remember his lines, he still did it. And he still and it wasn't that he really couldn't remember it. It's more or less like once you're in that mode, you're in the character, you know, trying to, you know, regurgitate a bunch of written words on paper is not as easy as just like I don't know, maybe trying to get into the character and saying what you think the character wants to say in that moment. And maybe that just didn't hit right. So then you have to start over and that's okay. But then, you know, I'll never forget being stuck on set. And I was like, oh my God, just say what he wants.
Just spit it out already.
He just spit
Jesus.
it out. My production coordinator is pissed. I can't get out of the set. It was like because once it's closed, it's closed. You cannot get out. There's no because the
Yep.
audio would be
No in,
screwed
no
up.
out.
Like you, no in, no out. And I was just like, I guess I'm gonna be here for the next year of my life. And it was only 45 minutes, but I'll never forget how long that 45 minutes felt. So I don't know. I think it's awesome. Yeah, and I think it's awesome that he's being recognized. And I think being recognized in that level where it's like it's not necessarily an award. I mean, it is an award, but it's not necessarily like an Oscar. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
more like, hey, I'm recognizing for how incredible you've been in your lifetime. I think it's so important because I think it forces these sort of the people who take themselves seriously. You know, we'll talk about Timothy Chalamet. I always get his name wrong. Timothy Chalamet. We'll talk about him in his, you know, sort of mentality, but I think that level of recognition fosters character actors like Timothy.
Yeah, no, it does. And I think Timothy is going to be another one of those because let's just jump right into it. You know, that he is someone who takes his craft very seriously. I think when you
Very.
see him, when you see his name on a project, you know that, you know, it's a good project, you know.
Mhm.
That kind of reputation is hard to maintain. Because even Harrison Ford has done a few like shitty movies and a couple of TV shows and stuff that I personally didn't like, but Timothy Chalamet, he really does, and he's a character actor. Like he gets into his character so much. So yeah, let's just jump right into the list. Marty Supreme, what did you think?
Marty Supreme is a wild ride. It was so much fun.
It's beautiful chaos, is how what I called it. It's just
Yes.
so much going on, but everything just kind of
Yeah.
ties in together. And yeah, no, I loved it.
Yeah, Marty Supreme. The cool thing about Marty Supreme is that people go into it. People go into movies in this, and I like this sort of this is like a really great like overarching
Hmm.
theme for the movies this year. They go into this movie with this in this idea that there's going to be a beginning, a middle, a climax, and an end, right? And Marty Supreme is one of those movies where like there was pretty much mostly climax, and then
The
and
entire
then
thing is climax.
the payoff is interesting because also are we going to preface this is a spoiler episode, so don't watch
Yes.
this if you don't. Okay, cool.
Yes, yes. So let's do that now. So spoiler alert for everyone. We are going to spoil, and I'm probably going to spoil stuff for you, Josh. Just a
No,
warning.
no, no, wait, wait, wait,
Because
wait. No, pause.
yes.
You cannot spoil one battle after another. You can spoil F1, you can spoil sentimental value. You cannot spoil one battle after another because I
Okay,
need to go
okay.
into one battle after another with no prejudice. I need
Yes,
to
because that's how I went
because
into it.
yeah, because Paul Thomas Anderson has a reputation with me and I need that. We'll talk about that one last, just so that you
Okay.
can tell me how you feel, but don't tell me
Okay.
anything about it.
No spoilers on that one. Okay. Well, spoiler alert, guys. I'm gonna have chapter markers in the description, so if you don't want to get a movie spoiled for you, feel free to skip to the next one, and we'll try not to we'll try to warn everyone when we're about to get into spoilers, so you know when to skip. But yeah, just heads up, we are going to talk about these movies, some plot twists and some things that happen in the movies. So if you don't want to get spoiled, just skip to the next one. So Marty Supreme.
So, Marty Supreme. So yeah, I mean, and the movie is chaotic in the best way possible because it also embodies who Marty is. And I think that the best part about the movie is that the sort of the ethos behind it was that like this guy is ambitious, this guy is high energy, this guy is going to get what he wants no matter how he has to get it.
No matter
In order
what.
to do so, you're gonna have lots of roadblocks. You're gonna have to get through the roadblocks, like literally a train through a wall in
Just
order to
barrel
get to
through
it.
them.
Just barrel through them, and that's what this guy does, and it's insane. It's
It's
insane,
wild.
and
There's so many moments in the movie when I'm like, wait a minute, this can't be the end. Like he's about to die. Like this
yeah, yeah,
dude
yeah,
is
yeah.
literally about to die.
He's,
And yeah, he
he's
makes it through somehow. And holy
his life
shit,
is at
it's a
risk.
wild ride.
Wilder that it's based on a true story. That is
Yeah.
wild. I'm like, who is this human? How is this human alive?
I think
You
it's
know, I,
loosely based on the real person. I think
I think so
there's a lot of
too.
stuff that were embellished.
Hopefully, good lord. I do think that it's not the perfect movie, but I do think that like and I think there were moments that were kind of, there were actors like Fran Drescher, that's
Brand
her last
Drescher,
name.
yep. Mhm.
I think that like she was so underutilized for in my opinion, she's such a great actress that she was so underutilized. I do think that like the movie itself lends itself to the mirror of what is ambition and what is worth taking a risk for. And so for me at the end of the movie, when he finally just all he wants is to beat this guy. So he knows he's the best because he beat the best. That's all he wanted.
That's it.
He did it. And then he was like, you know what? I'm just gonna be a dad. It was just like, wait, what? But it's kind of an incredible it's an incredible thing to say. Like, sometimes because it was the moment that he saw his son that he realized like nothing else matters anymore.
What's
This is
important?
what
Yeah, what's
matters.
actually
Yeah, it's
important?
what's actually important.
Yeah.
And it's such a fascinating it was such a fascinating story for, a human because we're all on this earth with this idea that like we have to achieve something. Our achievement has to mean something. We have to leave a legacy. Our names should be on billboards with our awards, Speaking of awards. And it's just like but at the end of the day, what mattered to him the most, even after he achieved his goal, was that like he needed to get back to his pregnant girlfriend and take care of this kid, and he was willing to do that. That's what he was willing to live his life for, not competing in table tennis for the rest of his life. So
Yeah,
I
I
thought it was
love.
incredible.
Jim Carrey always says that I wish that everyone could reach fame and fortune so that they realize, so that it hits them in the face and they realize that that's not the goal. That's not what's important, because
No,
he did it. Like he reached that pinnacle and he still wasn't happy.
no,
And that's kind of what Marty Supreme is this journey and this relentless pursuit of greatness. And once he reached it, it was like, okay, now what? Like I literally
yeah,
neglected my girlfriend that loved me. I'm neglecting my child that needs me. And it's like it puts things into perspective a little bit that he took it that far and
yeah.
still ended up where he could have been this entire time.
This
It's
entire
I
time.
love it.
Yeah, it was so good. And there were so many movies that were hilarious, or parts. There were so many parts that were hilarious. There were so many moments that I was just like, and the acting was actually very, very, very well done. Not just from Timothy, from a lot of people on the movie. The girlfriend being one of
Everyone.
them. Everyone was doing such a good
Yes.
job. That
Tyler the
well, it,
Creator. Tyler
Tyler
the
the
Creator was in
Creator.
there,
I
right?
forgot about that. That's right. He did such a good job,
He's
and it was like,
amazing. I
and that
never
was his
pictured him as an actor, and
no,
now I see it.
and I'm pretty sure that was like his
Debut?
debut, like his claim, like his final, like an actual movie. You know what I mean? I'm sure he's acting in other things, and
Yeah,
he is a character in and of himself. But like,
he's a creator.
I hated that so much.
That's why I did it.
That's hilarious. Yeah, he's a creator. So no, but he actually was very impressive, and
Yeah,
um
he was great. I didn't even know it was him until I watched the credits, and I'm like, wait a
mhm,
minute, that was him the
mhm.
entire time?
He
He
looks so
did
different
such
in
a
it.
good job at personifying that character, and
Yeah,
I was impressed. And then Fran Drescher, like I almost didn't recognize her at first because like she had
right.
no makeup. She had, it wasn't the typical Fran that we see with the big hair and the big makeup and
Mhm.
stuff. It was great. It was very genuine, and I've never seen that side of Fran. And I have a lot more respect for her now than I
I
did.
do. She is an incredible actress, and it made sense that she was. I think she was the committee for either the Oscars or SAG-AFTRA. I don't remember. I think it was SAG-AFTRA.
She's
There
one
were
of the
a lot of.
directors, right? Like she's one of the head of the.
I don't
She's
think she
pretty.
is anymore. I think
Oh,
Sean
okay,
Astin is now taking over with somebody else. I think she used to
gotcha.
be, but I mean, it makes sense because she is a great
Yeah,
actress and she has a great career just as well, just as much as anyone else.
yeah. The next one, let's do. I'm gonna leave one battle after another for the end.
Last,
Just for
very
the last,
last.
very last one. Before we move to the next one, what are the probability meter of Marty Supreme winning the best picture?
Zero. Marty Supreme
Zero.
is not going to win.
It's
And
single
not because it
digits.
doesn't deserve it. It's just because it's competing against like three other incredible movies
Yes,
that it's just not.
I agree.
If Marty Supreme's wins over all of them, there'll be an upset. Like
Oh yeah.
I think the Oscars people should leave. They'll be like, nah, never mind. What's wrong with all of you? No, and I don't think I think it deserves a nomination. I just don't think it deserves the win.
Okay, no, fair enough. Fair enough. Let's talk about Train Dreams. Have you seen that one?
Train Dreams. I have. I did see Train Dreams.
Yes. That was more drama, and I was expecting it to be a little slower, but I didn't know it was gonna be that slow.
But see, again, so Marty Supreme has this sort
It's like the
of
complete opposite. It's like you go,
well,
going
yeah,
100
there's
miles
so
an
much
hour.
chaos, but they
Yeah.
both have something in common. There's this sensibility of like this anticlimactic ending. There is like he did win, he finally beat, but like at the end of the day, the payoff is that he went to go be a dad. Like it's like, okay, well then, all right, that
Yeah.
was it. Train Dreams has a very similar sort of thing because In Train Dreams, he just dies. You know what I mean? Like it's a character study. It's a slice of life movie. It's made to see this guy's life and present to you something within. Really, it's a period piece. It's just to show you what's going on in that period of time,
Right,
and
right.
it's just a person in that period of time. But it was also like it was just so it was a sweet movie. It gave you the feels because, the actor was really nice, but he was a really good actor, but it was also like this, like, you just felt bad for him. You just wanted to like hold him and be like, I'm so
So much
sorry that you're
happened to
going
this
through this.
guy, yeah. And I love the fact that the movie spanned the majority of his adult life. Like he
Yeah.
went from meeting this woman to, essentially marrying her, having a child, while at the same time going out and being a logger, and then, then he loses them, spoiler alert, he loses them and then has to deal with the loss in addition to this hard life that he had made for himself. And it's like not only did we see the span of this man's life, but we also see the span of that time from chopping down trees with axes to now at the end of the movie using chainsaws, and him kind of
Right.
struggling a little bit with that. And I love that aspect of it because it makes him a real character, right? Like someone you don't think about it because we're young, we're always used to using computers, but for like my mom and grandma's age, they didn't grow up with computers. They eventually were forced upon it. And I think that struggle is something that's generational, right? Like I'm sure when we get to that age, we're going to struggle with some of the newer stuff that the kids are just going to pick up and know how to do. So the fact that, and one of my favorite scenes is towards the very end when he's trying to start the chainsaw and he can't because like he has arthritis in his hands,
Hmm.
like he's been chopping logs his entire life. Like
Right.
that to me was just, it was creme of the crop. I love that because it showed that divide and how a young
Right.
guy just comes, hey, old timer,
Yeah.
give me the
He's
chainsaw,
got it.
I'll do it, and then he just does it like nothing. So
Right.
I loved it. I love the
Yeah.
contrast of the young versus old, and that's a recurring theme throughout the movie, right? Because the old
Right.
guy, I can't remember his name, when he dies, he was kind of struggling with that time. So it's kind of like the history repeats itself, and yeah, it's just a getting old story of
Hmm.
dealing with loss and family and everything else. But yeah, I loved it. It's one of my
Yeah.
favorites on the list.
No, I agree. Actually had zero hopes for it going in. I was like,
Me
what is this
too.
crap? What is
Me
this
too. No, you
garbage?
know what? When I first saw the trailer and I saw that it was letterboxed, right? It wasn't even widescreen. They
Yeah.
literally cropped the frame to make it look like an old 80s and 90s movie, like we're watching it on VHS. That kind of turned me off a little bit, but I was like, you know what? It was nominated. I'm gonna give it a shot. That's what I'm
Gonna give it
saying
a
with this
shot.
list. With this list of nominees, it's like sometimes you need that to force you to watch something and just experience it for what it is. And
Right.
yeah, I loved it. I actually thought that was a good choice, is to letterbox it to make it feel like an
I
old
agree.
movie, like you're watching something classic.
Right. No, and the theme of the movie is really like this idea of like the rapidly modernization of the world. And especially at that time period, it was very rapid.
Very.
And I think that it was very fascinating because the idea, and like you said, I thought that was really cool too. Like it was like you see the old person struggling, you see him being newer, then you see that person dying, and then you see another old person and he's getting older. And all of a sudden, when he was older, he met the younger guy who, you know what I mean? Like it was like it was like coming back into
Like a
balance.
passing of
Like
the torch, kind
the
of.
passing
Yeah.
of the torch. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I mean, honestly, this idea of this like bittersweet translation of like going from the old way to the new way to finally just, I guess, this idea of like retirement and being done, and just after he lost his family and like he just stopped working, it was like, what else is he going to do? And he met that young woman who ends up being like a surveyor of some sort of the
Hmm.
land, and you see
She's a
this new
widower also.
technology.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just like, it's just this idea that like you either progress with the world or you die. And he progressed as much as he could until he was just like, he's too old. And it's sad because it's also like it's a commentary on life and a commentary on the reality of just being alive, being a person. You do your hardest to create a family, and you do your hardest to provide for your family. And at the end of the day, you can't provide them with 100% of anything. And, anything could be taken away from you at any moment. And do you choose to leave your family for months at a time to provide for your family? Or do you stay with your family and neither of you can provide for each other? And it's just like, it was all of this. It was all of this, like, it was like a very, like, it's very real. It was such a real movie. And I don't know. And it's funny in the trailer, they show you that moment when he's in the plane And you kind of think to I thought when I initially saw the trailer, I thought that was going to be like his daughter or his son or something in the train or in the
On the
plane,
plane.
but but it was just him like finding thrill and joy in such a small moment, such an incredible thing that was created, and he was like, "What is this?" And so he does it, and it's just like, and that was it. It was like enjoying the small moments, like understanding that like not everything has to be grandiose, not everything has to be, you know, perfect. It was just this moment that he could enjoy, before he died, and I don't know,
Yeah, and
it was such a
what I liked about that scene too is that he surrendered control. Like he was in control his
yes,
entire life, and he
yes.
tried to hold on to that control so hard, and it just kept slipping away. But in that moment, he just surrendered himself. He's like, you know what? I'm just gonna enjoy the moment. This new technology that I've never seen before, that I wasn't even thinking about way back when I started chopping logs. That surrender in his face was just brilliant. I love that
Mhm.
final scene for sure.
And when it finished, I was like, you know what? I usually don't like movies like this because I'm not a slice of life person. Like, what was that? Or the one that I can think of the most was Lady Bird. Fucking hated Lady Bird. I was
Oh,
like,
I
what the
love
fuck is
Lady
this
Bird.
shit? I know a lot of people do, and it was nominated. And I was like, I understand it, but I'm not. This is not my kind of movie. And
Yeah.
sometimes movies like that, like when they transcend somebody's like prejudice, I always find it fascinating. I always find it impressive, and not because it's like it's impressive to me, but impressive to like the idea of like the person is resistant to a certain type of story. But if the story can transcend your expectations, I think that that deserved the nom because of that. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it could have been boring, but it wasn't boring. It was just,
Hmm.
I've always said this. This is my one thing I always say. A boring movie is not a bad movie. It's just that it is the movie in and of itself doesn't provide the same stimulation that I don't know, a Transformers pew pew movie does, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
The stimulation is not there. That doesn't mean it's a bad movie. And
Yeah.
I say that about The Brutalist because it was brutal. That movie was a brutal undertaking. I didn't like it, but I saw what the massive scale of that movie, how the everything tied together, like including the massiveness of what he was doing in the movie of creating this like giant architecture. So the idea that the movie was like 4 hours long, I don't even remember how long it was. I was in the movie theater for, an entire day of my life. So they even had an intermission. I was like, what the
Like a
hell's going on
part-time
here?
job
Is this movie
intermission,
never going to end?
really?
Yeah,
Oh my
look,
god.
they had like a 15-minute intermission at some point. Like, I think
Get
it was like
out of
right before
here.
the last act. And it was just because it was that long.
Oh my god.
And but yeah, like, and I was like, it wasn't the movie was boring, but like I don't think that made it bad. It was just like the storytelling required a certain level of, sit back and relax. And I
Hmm.
think Train Dreams did that in the way that there was still beats that were kind of, there were shocking moments. There were moments that you were like, wow, there were moments like, but most of it was like you just sit back and relax and enjoy this movie. And I think that it did a good job at that. It did a good job of like making you feel good by
Hmm.
watching something that wasn't necessarily exciting.
Yeah, no, it was a work of art, and I think the acting, I think that same movie with another actor wouldn't have worked. I
No.
think the actor not necessarily carried the movie, but I think he made that movie because of his acting. Like he understood the character, he understood what the plot and the story, what they were trying to convey, and the overarching, plot line. Yeah, no, I think if it was any other actor, I think it would not even have been nominated, and it would just slip into oblivion. And I think also the fact that it had I wouldn't call it a gimmick, but the fact that it was letterbox, I think made it stand out for people because it had that something special other than just a movie about getting old. It had all of the right elements in the right spots to make it, so that people would watch it. And I'm glad people did because yeah, it's great. I loved it.
Yeah. Joel Edgerton being the lead actor, known for things like Dark Matter, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't think I've ever seen much of him. I know I recognize his face. I'm sure I've seen him in a few things,
Hmm.
but like, yeah, I think it transcended that role really well, and I think it was really good. Mm.
So the next movie that I was going to, just logically, was Sentimental Value, but I think neither one of us has seen it.
I haven't seen Sentimental Value, but I think we should talk about at least the trailer of it all.
I think what kind of turned me off about the movie and the fact that I watched One Battle After Another instead of Sentimental Value last night is because because the fact that it was Dutch. No, it's not Dutch, is it?
Wait, are you talking about Sentimental Value or Secret Agent?
No, because Secret Agent is Portuguese, right?
Portuguese.
Yeah, no. Sentimental Value
Norwegian,
is
Swedish, Danish.
yes, that.
That part of the world.
So it
Wait,
was a
let me
Danish movie.
wait. This is Stellan Skarsgård's greatest achievement is or crowning achievement is a big ask.
That's a big claim.
That's a claim. Okay, let's start with that. So all right, so I've never seen Sentimental Value, but to call it his that's insane because he's an incredible actor. If he is
Seriously.
even better in this movie, I am very fascinated to watch it. But
Is
yeah,
he
I
Danish? Is he from that part of the world? Because like I mean I don't know that language, but on the trailer and stuff, he was speaking that language. Like it was.
um he was born in Sweden, so maybe. I mean, I
Maybe,
don't know if
yeah.
Sweden does have a couple of languages, so there might have been that might be true. Or he might just naturally speak it, but he does have a really good American accent, so
Oh
there's
yeah,
that.
for sure. He's always
But
had like a
yeah,
little weird like twang to his English, so I
yeah,
knew
yeah,
he
yeah.
wasn't like American, but
Right.
yeah, no, and I'm sure it's great performance and it's a
Yeah.
great story, but yeah, I'll have to go back and watch that one because if it's his greatest achievement,
That's crazy. Or crowning achievement. I don't know if that's the
crowning
greatest.
achievement,
I don't know what
yeah,
that means, but crowning achievement is still a very high praise because yeah, he's an incredible actor. But I think that like Sentimental Value is probably going to be one of those movies that's very Train Dreams esque, maybe even
yes,
Hamnet esque. Like it's very like this story about these actors or whatever the case is, whatever the
yeah.
movie's about. And I don't know. I'm excited to see it because I do want to see Sentimental Value. I want to see Sentimental Value more than I want to see F1 or One Battle After Another, which we'll talk about. But
How dare you?
I know, but I don't
How
know. I don't
dare
know.
you?
Speaking of Sentimental Value, since we've never seen it, why don't we talk about Secret Agent, which is probably the next one in the list of ones that are like kind of in that same vein.
Yeah, first of all, let me say that I love the fact that foreign language films are now being nominated for Best Picture because that
Oh,
used
I
to
didn't.
be its own category, but it's like they'd never got that recognition of Best Picture, even though some of these movies, like especially Korean movies, are superb.
Insane.
Like the level
Insane.
of Hollywood that they put into these movies
Hmm.
is incredible.
Right.
And just because they're a different language, you know, they don't get the recognition that they deserve. So let's just start off by saying that I think
I
this
agree.
movie being Portuguese, I don't think hurt it at all. And you watched it, I haven't. So why don't you give us a little synopsis of what the movie was about?
Secret Agent was interesting. It was fascinating because I can't tell you what it's about. Like, that's what made it so cool. The concept of the movie is that there's this guy who is on the run. Well, there's actually a few people. There's a few people who are on the run. They're refugees, and they all have a different reason why. And this particular guy, the one who's the lead actor, who by the way, he's in Narcos, and
Yes.
he is
He's
in
Colombian, isn't
Narcos.
he? Like
Is
he's
he?
Hispanic. Yeah, I don't, that's another one that kind of blew me away when I saw him speaking Portuguese in the trailer. It's like he's not from Brazil or Portugal.
It's like, how are you people doing this? Armando
Seriously.
Solimens. No, actually, no, he's Brazilian. He's Brazilian.
Oh, he
He,
is. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. He was born in Brazil. I mean, but
Wow.
he still, regardless, the fact that he was able to play Spanish so well and play
In
Brazilian so
Narcos,
well
yeah.
is like,
Like he sounded
oh, okay,
Colombian to me. Like he
yeah,
fooled
yeah.
me. Like we're Hispanic and we're in tune with these
We
accents.
could
And to
click,
me,
and we
he was
know.
yeah. To me, he was Colombian.
Yeah, I think, and the crazy thing about it for me with this particular actor, you see this actor, you've seen him in other things, you kind of have an expectation of his quality, of his ability to do it, and he is a really great actor in this movie. Obviously, he's incredible. But what I found fascinating about the movie is that you don't. It's what I'm saying about some of these movies, like Marty Supreme, Train Dreams, now Secret Agent. There is a anticlimactic ending, but in this movie, it was purposeful. There was a purpose to this way that this movie was built. The way this movie was written was this intention of telling these stories I don't really want to tell you everything because I want you to see it so that you get what I'm saying.
Experience it. Yeah.
Unless you don't care about spoilers, but like the theme of the movie is rather what happens when things in history are so important. There's be these people who have these things happening to their lives. Their lives are in danger. You know, this guy has hitmen looking for him to kill him. And at the end of the day, his story is lost. It's just lost. And you're just like, this guy was a major player in something crazy happening in Brazil, and yet who knows? No one knows about it. There's a case. The whole thing is that this girl she's listening to the tapes of their conversations and she's transcribing them, and that was her job. She was just supposed to transcribe these tapes. And at the end of the day, she's like, whatever happened to these people? Who knows? You know what I mean? And it was just like, it was such a fascinating theme because the anticlimacticness of it all is the reason. It's like, that was like the theme. That was
It's
the
the point.
purpose.
Yeah.
That was the point. And so watching it, you're like, you know, and they do such a good job of making you feel anxious because you're like,
Really.
every beat, you're like, oh, this is important. This is important. This is important. This is important. And then it's not. And you're
And
like,
then nothing's
that's
important.
and then nothing's important. And that was the point. And so when you leave the movie, you're like, not only did I love that, but why did I love that? You know what I mean? I love when a movie makes you question shit like that. People can shit on Inception all they want. The minute you saw that table turner like almost fall
Like wobbling.
and
Yeah.
wobbling, and then they cut, you know, you had every question on the book. Like, well, wait, hold on. Now you're gonna analyze the whole movie, and that
Yes. That is the
speaking
point.
piece, that's the point.
That
And
is
so
the
to
point.
me,
Is to spark that conversation. Yeah. No, I agree.
exactly.
Yeah.
Secret Agent is a conversation starter, and you should definitely watch it.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's gonna be my next one.
I'm glad we're going
Yeah.
through the ones that we haven't done except One Battle After Another, because I am curious to know, you know, just to switch, just to kind of change the energy. Have you seen F1?
I have not. No. And
All right, so then let's talk about F1 because fuck that movie.
let me start off by saying that I love Apple making content because they are to
That's
me
right. You told me that.
they are to me the next HBO, right? Like they are or
Okay.
the next Netflix. The people that are willing to put the work into not only the writing and the shooting and the producing, but also like budgetary. Like if a director comes to Apple and says, "Hey, I need $200 million to make this," they're going to give them the $200 million. They're not going to be nickel and diming them. They're not going to be like in Hollywood trying to cut costs here and there. If you need that amount of money, they're going to give it to you. And I think that's where the quality for me lives, right? Because now they have the means and the budget to make it what the director's vision is. And I think not only in the movie space, but in the TV space, like Severance, Silo, like all of these amazing shows that would never have been greenlit on a network television network.
Yeah, that
Like,
makes sense. Yeah.
to me, yeah. So I'm curious to see F1 because to me, F1 is not the best, topic for a movie. But then again, I might be wrong. We might be wrong. This might be an amazing
wrong.
movie. I usually go
Fine.
by the Rotten Tomato score, and a lot of these were in the 90s, and this was the only one for me that was in the 84, so it was the weakest
even
of the bunch.
worse.
So I think
Ugh.
that's why I kind of avoided it.
Anything
But-
under 99 is disgusting. I mean, honestly, dude, here's my thing. Here's my analysis before I even see the movie. I think I saw the trailer once.
Yeah.
I understand the movie is about F1 racing or whatever, Formula racing. Don't care. I was like, great, not interested. I always look for two things: who wrote it, who is the story by, and who's directing it. Those three things are most important. The next most important thing is who's acting, and pretty much that's it. Who's acting, maybe who's a cinematographer, maybe these kinds of things. But like, it's so important to start from the top, right? We already know Brad Pitt. Okay, so it's
Yeah.
Brad Pitt playing Brad Pitt in another Brad Pitt movie. Okay, so I already have that expectation, right? Joseph Krasinski, the director, has directed some decent movies, starting with Tron Legacy, which, mind you, not a great movie, but you and I
Yeah.
loved it.
If
we just skip a little bit-
nostalgia than anything for the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah. We'll skip ahead and give him the claim to fame that he has, which is Top Gun Maverick. And then beyond that is, and now F1. So we're talking about somebody whose repertoire doesn't necessarily speak for his talent. So who knows? Maybe F1 was his moment to finally, this is the Christopher Nolan moment where he's finally gotten the budget to make something incredible that he's, people were loved. My thing, the worst part about this for me is like, I don't want to watch this because of Aaron Kruger, who wrote Transformers,
Mm.
The Ring, Scream 3.
Oh my god.
He also wrote Top Gun Maverick. He wrote Ghost in the Shell, which, mind you, that has its own controversy based on, Scarlett Johansson being white. Then he wrote Dumbo. And I'm like,
The
you're telling
modern
me,
Dumbo?
yeah, the modern one, the 2019 one. And you're like, you're telling me the man who wrote these god-awful movies, a story by Joseph Krasinski, who's best known for Top Gun Maverick, not even Top Gun Maverick. You're telling me F1 is an Oscar-nominated film based on these people? And to shit on Brad Pitt further, Brad Pitt, he's fine. He's a great actor. He's
he's great,
earned his
but
stars. It's
yeah.
just Brad Pitt. At this point, Brad Pitt plays Brad Pitt. You know what I mean?
Do you think, again, going back to the actor carrying the movie, do you think if Brad Pitt wasn't involved and they didn't have this A-lister to put on the posters, do you think it would have been nominated with an 84% Rotten Tomato score?
Honestly, I think F1 is a perfect example, not having seen it. I think it's probably a perfect example of what a For Your Consideration campaign has to offer. Because we are talking Hans Zimmer as the music. We are talking Javier Bardem as a supporting actor. We are talking about, like, producers down the line from Jerry Bruckheimer to, like, Lewis Hamilton. Like, we're talking people who have, like, they all have star power in their own right.
Yeah.
Including the fact that Joseph Krasinski is in his top era right now. He's done things to put him in the position to do something of this, what is it, a $300 million budget. So it's fine. But I just think that, like, this is the movie that I think was nominated as like a last resort 10. It was like, okay, out of all the movies, which one is the 10th one? And they were like, F1, I guess. F1 was nice. F1 was fun. I was like, all right, we'll just do F1. Like, that's what
Yeah.
it feels like. But then again, we haven't seen it. So we're
Yeah.
judging it based solely on merit around the
Yeah.
movie. And we actually watched the movie. And to be fair, like you said, I don't think it would have been greenlit by Apple if it wasn't going to be good enough, because Apple's doing the thing where they're actually greenlighting good things.
Yes.
So there is a world where this was a moment where they wrote something not just for money, not just for, not for fame, but writing it out of heart and wanting to do something incredible. I don't want to shit on it too hard because I don't want to eat my words later. I've done that too much lately.
You're going to watch it. You're going to be like, man, this was amazing.
I was like, fuck, this was supposed to be nominated. But at the end of the day, I think that, like, it's a weird, mosh posh of different types of people, like, in this movie that you're like,
the
how is it
ragtag
good?
team in Hollywood. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Like,
think
how is it
for
good?
me, it's not only the fact that it's Apple made, but the fact that Apple leaned on it so hard. And I don't know if you remember even in the iPhone release keynote, you know how they do this once a year. They release this video of, this is our new products or whatever. It started with Tim Cook getting out of an F1 car. And like the first 10 minutes of it was literally like, him racing in an F1 car around the Apple Park. And like they leaned on this movie so hard marketing wise that I think it can go both ways, right? Because then, like you said, for your consideration, I think they need something in the Oscars to legitimize Apple as a valid movie studio. So I think they needed to have that at least one movie be nominated, even if they don't win, just as a legitimizer. But again, like it's Apple. I haven't been disappointed with anything they've made yet, and the fact that they're leaning on this so hard tells me that I think we should reserve judgment and not shit on it too hard until we actually watch it. Because we say, and F1. I don't like F1, but it might not even be about the F1. It might be a charter story about this guy and his struggles. And so, I'll reserve judgment until I see it. But yeah, right now
you reserve judgment. I will continue to hate it. No, but I agree with you, and I also think that, like, that's the problem that I have with it. You're talking about a major conglomerate with a lot of power and a lot of money, and this movie that wasn't necessarily incredibly received by audiences, but was decent enough to be in the 80s, you're like, and at least for Rotten Tomato scores, you think to
Mhm.
yourself, like, okay, I mean, it's good, but is it
It's
Oscar
good.
nominated good? And then it's just
Exactly.
like, I
That's where
think
I'm
that,
at.
like, yeah, I'm like, okay, it's fine if you bought your nomination. That's fine. But for you to win over the other movies that are listed that actually deserve it, that's the part that I have a problem with. And so that for me, it's like, I don't like to put a contender on, I don't like to put in a contender that could win because this is a race at the end of the day. Haha, F1.
Yeah.
This is a race. And
Ba-dum-tsh.
it, but if you win, it causes, for me, it's like a slap in the face to all of this other creativity. But I don't think it's going to win, so I think it's fine. I think if it's a nomination based on Apple
Yeah.
needing to buy their way into the nominations
Mhm.
for whatever the case is, and that's fine. And honestly, as much as I hate it, I understand it because on one hand, Apple is releasing a lot of great content that doesn't necessarily need to be awarded for it to be good. And on the other hand, if they don't get recognized, then the potential is not there for the studio, and they could eventually stop making content that would have been great in the first place. So there's something to be said about, like, okay, fine. If F1 has all of this budget and you've built this team and suddenly this movie is decent enough to get 80s and you bought your way into the nomination, then great. Then I hope you get recognized, and I hope that means that in the future there's going to be a lot greater, give greater money to some of the best that you can find, and then they will actually create something incredible. But I guess we'll watch this Brad Pitt being an F1 racer, I guess. But also, I just think Brad Pitt is just so he's just so, like, he's just, to me, like, starting to see Brad Pitt over and over and over again with multiple different roles, I just start to be like, what the fuck? You're Brad Pitt. You basically
Yes.
you play yourself in every single
In
role.
every
You're
single
not,
movie. Yeah.
you don't have range. You're just Brad Pitt. And don't get
Yep.
me wrong, that's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of movies that are successful just because you're Brad Pitt, but he's at that point in his career, but he literally just walks on set, gets put in a trailer, and all of a sudden he's nominated for a movie because he's Brad Pitt. And it's just like, how does that make any fucking sense?
It's like Liam Neeson for me, that he plays the exact same character in every movie he's ever played in. He has zero range, but the man keeps getting jobs, so he must be doing something right.
I guess. Or what is that other guy? Who's that guy who's never an actor and now he makes all these action movies, and he's kind of British. He always plays the
Statham?
same role. Statham, yes.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you. Jason
Yes.
Statham.
He plays the
That's
same character every single
but
time.
he gets roles because he's Jason Statham. Like,
Yes.
he gets the roles because that's what people are
Mhm.
looking for. He's The
Yeah.
Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and I know that he tried to take himself seriously in this new movie he's in. What was it called? The one about the boxer,
The
which
boxer,
ended up being,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I guess it ended up being bad, but but like, it is interesting to me that, like, you know, it is those characters, and I think that now at the pinnacle of his career, Brad Pitt is just unfortunately there. So
Yeah.
we'll
He's like
see.
the
I'll
token
watch
white
it.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We'll
He's
see.
just
I'll
there to
watch
get
it.
star recognition. Yeah, I'll watch it. I'm sure, next episode we're gonna come back on and we're gonna be like, everyone has to watch F.
Watch F1.
I'm telling you, it's gonna happen. Just because it's Apple, and I know that it's gonna be quality. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, we'll give it a shot.
All right, so this is the way that we think we should do the next five, right? I think we
Okay.
should do Sinners, Frankenstein, Begonia, Hamnet, One Battle After Another, for a reason.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so let's do Sinners first.
Sinners to me was because I went into it not knowing anything, right? So, and I think for a lot of these movies that you kind of need
That's the
to
way you have to do
do
that,
that.
man.
Yes, because it's an experience, and
Yes.
there's plot twists and things like that that are kind of spoiled in the trailers. But this is a movie that I was not expecting in 2026, but I'm glad it exists because I think and spoiler alert, you've been warned. The vampire angle to me seemed like when it first happened, I was like, oh man, they're turning this into a vampire story. Like literally almost the last third of the movie. Like we've watched two-thirds
Mhm.
of the movie as one thing, and now you're kind of switching it up. So for me, it was kind of like a but at the end of the day, it made sense. Like if you go back and
Yeah.
watch the first 2/3 of the movie, there's a lot
Yep.
that like little Easter eggs and things that they hide in there. And I absolutely loved it, man. It's one of my favorites this year.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude.
I don't
Yeah,
know. What do you
for
think?
sure. Dude, okay, so initially when it first was released, there's a lot of hype around it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm not a huge fan of Michael B. Jordan. I think he's good. It's just I don't really know his career that well, so I was just like, okay, well, it's Michael B. Jordan. I'm sure it's fine. And then the whole thing for me was that the hype was so good. Everyone said it was so good. Everyone was like, you should see it. I was like, okay, fine, I'll go see it in movie theaters. Was taken out of movie theaters by the time I could go. And I was like, fuck. So I couldn't go. Then they re-released it in IMAX here, at least for like
Oh, you watched
weeks.
it in IMAX?
No, it was sold out.
Dude.
Like as soon as AMC released the tickets, it was sold out. Like for weeks. And I was like, are you fucking how good is this movie? How is
Yes.
everyone wanting to see this fucking movie? So of course, for me, I had a little bit of higher expectation for it. I was like, oh, well,
Yeah.
it fucking better be good because I didn't get a chance to see it in movie theaters.
Yeah.
So we're watching it at home. And then, side note, this is the movie I was telling you about. I was like, it is such a great, the cinematography is incredible, but it's one of
Incredible.
those movies that the darkness of the movie can be contrasted by the black bars. So when you see
Yes.
it in a movie theater, the black bars are not a big deal because you don't really register those. But on
Yes.
my shitty LED TV, all I can
They're the
fucking
white
see was
bars.
those gray white bars. And I was like, oh, just go away. I just want it to go away. And this is really important. The reason this is really important is because the movie's cinematography is so fascinating. I think that one of the reasons I would have loved to see it in IMAX is because there are two specific scenes where it goes from widescreen to full screen. And I think that
Yes.
full screen wasn't necessarily full, but rather IMAX worthy.
Mm-hmm.
So but those two scenes are given power through that cinema, so that through that
Yes.
choice. And so for me, I was just like, I wish I would have seen it in movie theaters. That's one, but that's a side note. But speaking to the actual movie itself, like what I thought was fascinating about it, because I kind of somebody spoiled the whole vampire angle to me, but I was like,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
whatever. Yeah, because somebody was like, it's Southern vampire story, and I was like, okay, fine. So I kind of went into it already understanding it was a vampire thing. What I found fascinating is that it wasn't a fully vampire movie. And like you said, for the most part, it wasn't about vampires
It
until it
wasn't.
was.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that was that's what made it even more fascinating. Because the only
Yes.
moment you get, like the very major moment you get of vampirism, for one, is the battle scene, and for two, is the death scene. And so then you're like, that's really all the vampire nests we got. Everything else was sort of like this idea of this like this essentially what was what was contrasted and what was sort of built of this like dangerous white man, the consumption of his this vampirism into the biting his teeth into the culture and like coming into the space of these people of color, and then wanting to sort of like this destruction, and then like
There's a lot
turning
of
your people against
symbolism in
each
it.
other. There's
Yeah.
so much symbolism, and you're like, and there's so much mysticism and the history, and then the music, and then the moment they do the music scene where you see all the different cultures coming accumulating together, because that was the whole point.
Yeah.
That was so fantastic. I was like, this is a fantastic scene. And then, even my favorite part of the movie, and I think is everyone's favorite part of the movie, is you're not supposed to invite them in. And this bitch is pissed off that they have her husband. She said, fucking come in, or whatever she says. And they all start coming in. And that's when the sheen goes. I will never forget that moment because I had chills.
Yes.
My hair stood up. I was like, that's fucking
Like
awesome.
it's over.
It's so good. And then they all start fucking destroying each other. And then it never felt like it was gratuitous violence. It never felt like it was gratuitously, you know, there wasn't like a lot of like this idea of like, we want to, it's shock value. It was more or less like the story was unfolding. And so
Yeah.
even when there was a moment when Haley Steinfeld's character, ends up becoming a vampire and she's got blood all over her, it didn't feel like it was intended to be like this, like it was blood porn, it was just
Gory.
intended to be,
Yeah.
it wasn't gory. It was just the sense of like, well, they're vampires and they're going to have blood. And they almost kind of went a little bit on the, they leaned towards the realism of like, well, human beings have 4 pint, well, however many pints of blood they have in their body, but they have a lot of blood. And so if a vampire is going to hit the carotid artery, they're going to spill a lot.
Yes.
And even if a vampire is sucking it all at the same time, they're gonna have blood all over them. So I think that was the sort of mentality of like, all right, well, we have to make this like, in a way realistic, but then also in a way of like, let's actually capture this this intensity of what it is to be bitten by a vampire. And so there wasn't a lot of gore, blood, porn to it, which is what a lot of vampire movies do or vampire stories do. I mean, somebody compared it to like it was like the Black True Blood, and I was like, okay, maybe not, but like
Yeah.
the idea is that yes, it is a Southern story. It does have it is predominantly Black cast, and then for the most part, like this idea in True Blood, when the vampires would die, would just be this extreme blood gore moment of just like the explosion of blood and guts, but it wasn't that. And so they weren't leaning into that idea because I think that's what people expect of vampires. They expect this like extreme gore and blood. And I liked about it is that it was more or less like, no, it was actually not about the shock factor. It was about the fact that like each character and each individual situation that they were put in made for what the story was supposed to be about. That was like that. It was like everything was intentional. Nothing was just for fun. Everything was intentional. Every story plot, every point, every beat, up until the fact that when he was about to die, he saw, his child and I don't know if it was his wife. I was also kind of
Yeah.
confused about that, but it was like this person he loved with the child he loves. So I don't know. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was so good. I want to see it again. Hope that they'll re-release at some point in life, and then I'll see it in
Yeah,
theaters.
no, you
But
have to see it. You have to see it in IMAX because going back to the point that you mentioned where everything was intentional, I think even everything in the cinematography was intentional. I think, like you said, when you get those bars come in and you feel almost because you've experienced the full screen already, when it kind of comes back down to the cropped framing, you almost feel claustrophobic. It makes you
yes,
feel different. And but when they switch it back, I think every time that it switches back, it's meant to feel more open, more airy, more like the world is bigger. And then when they want you to feel that the world is smaller, they'll crop it back down. But literally, I think my favorite scene from the entire movie is when the bars are there and then you start to see the action start and he's invited in and you see the bars slowly creep
yeah, they
away.
slowly
It's like
creep
this
away. Yeah.
build because the music is
Yes,
building and the action is building, the suspense is building,
yes.
and now the bars are disappearing and you're like, holy shit, what is about to happen? So to
Right,
me, the cinematography was my favorite part of it, but yeah, the entire movie was flawless in my opinion.
right.
Is a very I think this one has a very high chance of winning Best Picture because it was
Yeah,
that good.
I agree. I do unfortunately disagree with that. I do think that, like, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to get, I don't think it's going to win. But I think the reason I don't think it's going to win is because historically, just because it's a predominantly Black cast. And I hate to say that, but it's just, come on.
But we thought about that with Black Panther though, and
That's true. That's true. I just have no hopes for the racism in this country. And I'm just like, if it wins, I will be excited. There's a few of these movies that I'm like, like I don't think Morty Supreme is gonna win because I don't think it has that much traction. I don't think Train Dreams is gonna win because Train Dreams was incredible, but I just don't think it's like that good compared to the other ones. Secret Agent also lands there. I mean, we're talking like one battle after another. Hammett and Begonia have gotten the most traction, so like I just don't think Sinners is in that list. But I do think it's fantastic. It should have definitely been nominated, so I'm glad it did. And if at the end of the day it does win, there will be no arguments. There's only two movies that I would have arguments for, and we'll get to that.
okay. All right. Well, that being said, which one's next for you? You said Frankenstein.
Yeah, let's do because I was thinking Sinners and Frankenstein being the two monster movies of this year. And, you know, Frankenstein it was
Guillermo del Toro.
Guillermo del Toro. I
Yeah,
always get like tongue tied with his name. Guillermo del Toro. It is gorgeous. This
it
movie
is.
is
It is.
amazing.
He is
Like,
to me, he is the Tim Burton of that genre. So Tim
yes, I
Burton
agree.
capitalized on like the weird and death themed stop motion. This guy has cornered the market on monsters. Like that's
Yes.
literally his
He
forte,
just
and he
does
is
so good.
absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I haven't
So
seen a
good.
Guillermo del Toro movie that I don't like, and
I
this
mean, me
is
neither.
yeah. No, and this one, like, I was familiar with the Frankenstein story, right? So I was going into it with some preconceived notions about what the plot was going to be, and sure enough, it followed the original story pretty much. But I don't know, just the fact that they gave a lot more perspective from the monster's point of view, I think
Hmm.
gave it such life that I don't know, like I sympathize with with Frankenstein. Like I was
Right.
like, yeah, man, like you were forcefully brought onto this planet against your
Well,
will.
the monster,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's
Oh,
something
yeah,
we have.
sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, no, it's funny because I did the same thing the whole time. I was like, no,
Yes.
the monster, because
The
Frankenstein is the
monster, yes.
doctor, Frankenstein, the monster. I had to keep doing it because I was like, but the movie is called Frankenstein. I'm so
Frankenstein, yeah.
confused. But
Yes,
yeah,
no,
you
the
have to
monster.
sympathize with him a little bit.
Yeah, and just the revenge story, like the fact that now he's angry. Like I would be angry. Like why did you do this? And now I'm almost invincible. Like I can't die even if I want to.
Died.
That struggle to me the hit such a chord because it's like you don't necessarily think about it that way. Like even if you wanted to leave, like this is miserable. I'm in a lot of pain and this is not a good existence for me. I should be able to have that choice, but because he didn't have that choice, I think that's where the anger came from. And I don't know, man, it was just such a good contrast between Dr. Frankenstein and the monster that, and they were intertwined, like their stories are literally bound together. And yeah, I don't know. I loved it. I
Yeah.
absolutely loved it.
I mean, the story of Frankenstein has always been so incredible because of like the nuance and the connection to the reality. And like, it's just, there's so much theme and there's so much like metaphor, and the whole story in and of itself it is a story that should be told a million times, and it also should be told in, in multiple different ways, because it is, it is this idea of creation, death, God, life, eternity, like there's so much to it. And so I think that the movie captured it all. And it had a great framework to do so. So it was able to capture every single theme that it needed to for Frankenstein's story. And I think that the actors did an incredible job. Jacob Elordi did an incredible job. I completely forgot he was this like stupid, tall, girls love him person. I hate
Yeah.
actors like this who are just like, they're famous because they have teenage girls falling all over them. Jacob Elordi surpassed that, and obviously he was in full head to toe makeup, but like, he being able to do what he did in the incredible way that he was able to show his ability as an actor specifically. And I think it was even more importantly that he was covered in makeup. There was no way to utilize his, what is considered, to conventionally attractive face in order to show that, like, oh, look at this conventionally attractive actor just being decent. No, he was a good actor, great actor, even behind makeup, showing his talent because he couldn't rely on his face. And I think that in and of itself was transcendent in the performances. I think my biggest takeaway though from this movie is that if it doesn't fucking win costume design, I will throw the
Oh
TV across
no,
the room.
for sure.
The first thing within the first 20 minutes of the movie, the first thing I noticed is like, these costumes are fucking incredible. They were gorgeous. Everything on screen was gorgeous. Every color was gorgeous. The cinematography was gorgeous. I was like, this movie is beautiful. And like,
Yes.
I was beyond. I mean, and there were so many moments when like the framing of it all was just it was just so metaphorical. I mean, I forget her name because I'm terrible with names, but the love interest of both Frankenstein and the monster, she's like framed with this skull and the metaphor of what that is, and like the way that it's set up, and like, everything was intentional as well. Like these are the kinds of movies that get
Hmm.
nominated. It was
Yeah.
intentional. And my God, I was just like, I was in awe because I was like, this movie is good. This is a good movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You ever leave a theater and you're like, that was a good movie. I was like, and
Yeah.
there, that was how I left Marty Supreme actually. When we left the theater, I was like, there's just no way to describe this other than telling people it's a good movie. It's just a good movie. Like, I don't know what else to say. You're like, I could tell you a million reasons why, but I'm also like, go watch it. It's just a good movie. You leave that movie, you leave Frankenstein with this feeling of like, wow, I watched something good.
Hmm.
I think it was, I don't, I never read Frankenstein the book, so I'm not really totally familiar with the story. I mean, I'm obviously familiar with what I've been told, but I don't know how the book and the movie differ as far as like the actual storytelling. But from what I've been told, there are some subtle differences, but I think the theme still landed. I think everything still landed really well. And at the end, Frankenstein or the monster decides not to be a monster. He decides
Yeah.
he's not going to be like his father. He's not going to be like his creator. He's going to spare his creator's life well, he's not going to be the one to take away his creator's life, and he's going to help the people stuck in the ice, and that'll be his redeeming quality, is that when you've been put on this earth against your will, you have two choices. You can be the monster, or you can be, how do I put this? You can be Frankenstein, or you can be the monster. And the monster decided that he was going to be good. He was going to be like, he didn't, he
It's a
wasn't,
choice.
yeah, he wasn't born with morality. He was born out of pieces of flesh put onto this earth with a brain, who that would hopefully be able to make his own choices. And the monster never decided to be a murderer. He never decided to be a bad person. He always decided to respect and protect and provide. And no matter what happened, what he wanted more than anything was to be loved, and to be embraced in society. And when that couldn't happen for him, of course he blamed his creator, because that's what we do, right? We as
Yeah.
humans will throw our fists up to God and be like, why isn't my life the way that it could be? Because you made me this way.
But it comes down to choice. Yeah, it comes down to choice and personal experience. I love the journey that he goes through, because he goes from being loved unconditionally by this love interest to then being not necessarily pitied, but taken care of by this old blind person that can't see what he looks like. So he's literally showing him empathy. So you go from
Right.
love to empathy to that journey to me was so wild, because you can see all the little pieces coming together, and he's starting to put the puzzle pieces together, because he's technically only a few days old, or a few in the
Right.
beginning. So he's not born with any of this, and what comes out is just anger and
Hmm.
resentment and all that stuff. But then throughout the journey, through all the people he comes into contact with, he learns a little piece of what it is to be human, what it is to be alive. And I loved it, man. I really loved
Yeah.
it. And I hope that Guillermo del Toro keeps getting funding for all of his projects, because they are
Me
fucking
too.
brilliant. I
Yeah,
love it.
there's a rumor that he's going to take on Phantom of the Opera next. Probably not obviously not the musical, but that
Yeah.
would be really cool to see
Yeah, that'd be great.
like a modern version of Phantom of the Opera. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think and the final thoughts for me for Frankenstein is that, like, I think it's incredible that the movie really speaks on this idea of theists versus atheists, because we always talk about like how we're born with a moral compass, and that like it is our choices that make our morality, but it's truly God who's given us that morality. But the reality is that, like, when when the truth comes down to it, you're put on this earth and you have choices to make. And if a monster created by multiple pieces and a brain that never belonged to him can still choose kindness, why can't we? And
Yeah.
I think it's just such an incredible story. Not dude, I can't speak enough about the set design, about the intentional cinematography. Like, that movie is just so well done. Again, this is one of those movies where I'm like, if it won, I would not be upset.
Yeah. Yeah, and not only best picture, but also, like you said, the costume design, makeup, like special effects, like all of these different categories that just came together so beautifully. Like this movie is gorgeous, gorgeous. If you haven't seen it, I highly, highly recommend it.
I forgot about the film language. There was this consistent red gloves that all of the, like, the blood in their hands kind of thing,
Hmm.
and like Frankenstein had these red gloves, and I was just like, fucking brilliant. And like nobody
It's
would point
great.
that out, but
Hmm.
because subconsciously you're seeing it, there's this sort of like brilliance to bringing the story together that has all these little minor film languages that actually make the movie even greater. And I love movies like this. That's why I went to film school for shit like this. That's what I like.
Yeah. No, a lot of the scenes are very muted. They're very like greenish and bluish and very cold.
Yeah.
But when you see that red, like when the fire burst out from
Yeah.
the guy's cabin, it's like stands out so much, and it hits you
Hmm.
way differently
Way
than if the
different.
movie was just regular color. So
Right.
they do those things very intentionally.
Right. And then finally, the best part is when the wolves are attacking and Frankenstein literally snaps the neck of one of the wolves. I was like, yes, violence. It had everything for everyone.
Oh my God.
um, and then moving on to just sort of the theme of the monster movie. So we start with sinners with the vampires. We're going to Frankenstein with the monster. Let's go to Begonia, because this movie, dude, I was not excited to watch this movie at all. When I
Me
tell you,
either.
I went
Me
into it, I was
either.
like, fucking crap. All right, I guess I'll watch this awful movie by Yorgos Lanthimos, who's responsible for one of the worst experiences of my life, which was the fucking Poor Things movie. And don't get me wrong, I have to rewatch Poor Things without being mad about it. Like,
Yeah.
I need to just go back in, because now that I've seen Begonia, and then, my husband tells me that one of his favorite movies is called The Favorite. It's also by Yorgos. So I'm like, all right. And he did Dog's Tooth, and he did The Lobster, and apparently those movies are incredible too. So, like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm not familiar with his work. I haven't really seen a lot of it. I've only ever seen Poor Things, and watching Poor Things was very poor. So
Yes. No,
it was such a
I didn't enjoy
bad
that either.
experience. So when I saw that this movie was nominated and I saw who it was directed, I was like, all right, I'll watch it because it's nominated. But I swear to God, if it's another bad movie, I'm never watching his movies ever again. Let's start with the fact that Begonia is not only it is such a brilliantly written story for me that
Yes.
by the end of it, I was like, that is the only way that movie could have gone well.
Yes.
That is the
Yes.
only way.
Like if
It
it would
was
have turned out again, spoiler warning, if you don't want to be
yes.
spoiled Begonia, skip ahead now. If it would have ended with her not being an alien, I would have been pissed.
Me too. I said the same thing. I said the perfect brilliance of the theme of this movie is that she is an alien.
Yes.
Is that he was right the whole
The
time.
entire
Because
time.
the whole concept of and I was talking about this, like, that's the thing, because she mentions that. She's like, I think you're stuck in this echo chamber. She speaks as a human being, concerned about this, like, what we always talk about is like, well, you're crazy. You believe in conspiracy theories. It's like, look at these backwoods idiots who are just like, they believe in aliens and shit. What
That's why
idiots.
they're
Look at
presented
them.
that way. That's why they're
Yeah.
presented that way, is like this crazy guy, and
He's this
obviously his
crazy
sidekick
guy.
is someone who's not mentally all there. So you
Which is a
always have
perfect
this doubt.
choice.
Perfect choice. Perfect choice,
The
because it
fact that
gives
he
the
was not
contrast.
cognizant. Yeah.
Yes, and the fact that he was kind of manipulating him into believing that, but the
Right.
fact that it was true just gave it a completely different meaning. It's like, no, like he needed help.
Exactly.
Like he needed you were the only
Yes.
person available, and he needed your help to get this alien. And
Yes.
oh my god, dude, yeah,
It's so good.
and when you rewatch it, you're gonna see all of the little manipulations that she
Yes.
did throughout the movie.
Yes. I was thinking, but I was keeping track because I officially, when the movie started and the whole thing was happening, blah, 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 there was the point that I started to click. I was like, wait a minute. He says, I didn't realize you had the royal genes. And then he like bolted, like the voltage was so high. And he was like, no one's ever lasted that long. There were two things in that moment. I was like, wait, no one's ever lasted that long, which means he's done it before. Two, the voltage is so high. And the way that she's suffering, she should be fucking dead or brain dead. So if
Yeah.
she's a human, she should be brain dead. And for three, he expresses the fact that he understands, "Well, I didn't realize you were royal blood." So there was that moment I was like, okay, wait a minute. This
Like,
guy is
hold on a
absolutely,
second.
I was like, he's definitely insane, and he's probably super insane. And he just believes this is true, and maybe the voltage wasn't that bad. But in my opinion, she should have been dead. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna treat her like she's an alien. Let's see how this goes. So in my
Yeah.
head, I started to be like, no, I think she's an alien. And me and my husband went back and forth. He's like, no, I don't think so. I was like, no, I honestly do think, like, I have to think that she is, not only just because of the voltage, but I was just like, but like, I don't know, I get this feeling. And I didn't think that it was true, which is why, because I think I was trying to convince myself, it's like you get in your head,
Yeah.
you're like, no, she's an alien. But then
Like,
at the same time, you're like,
maybe not.
maybe.
Yeah.
But then at the same time,
That's
you're
the
like, this
point.
movie's not about an alien. Come on, that would be ridiculous, right? It'd be so dumb. And they did such a good job of making you think that she's not an alien. You're insane as the audience for thinking she's an alien. She's a human being, and the way that they word it and the verbiage, the writing was so intricately done, where you could truly believe this woman is, first of all, she's brilliant. She's a CEO of a company, and so
Yes.
she has the know-how. She knows how to negotiate. She knows how to be strong. She's a strong woman. She knows how to manipulate people by also being able to say the things that she knows is gonna, touch a nerve. And just so good. And then at the point where she says they're fighting in the kitchen, or they're fighting in the dining room after she essentially pisses him off, she says, it's something about like, you're not going to win because I'm a winner and you're a loser, or something like that, right? She says that, and it was like, in that moment, it was like there's this feeling that this is what the elite really feel about us, right?
Yeah.
So suddenly you start to you fully empathize with the crazy guy who believes in that she's an alien, because you what you want to believe is that she is a monster. No matter whether she's an alien or not, she's a monster in and of herself. She is this person who's poisoned his mother into a coma, who's responsible for the death of bees. She's a major conglomerate bitch woman who, like, wants her employees to leave at 5:30, but not if they have work to do. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they build her up into this
Yes.
monster. And so you don't want to root for her at all. You want to root for him to destroy her. And then when shit starts to go down, dude, brilliant. Brilliant.
It's
What did
so
you think
brilliant.
about the choice to have Don kill himself?
I was conflicted in that moment because he was such a nice person that you almost don't want that to happen, but it was part of the manipulation. Just the fact that with her words, she was able to conflict him so much to the point where he would commit suicide. That to me was the first sign that she was not who she said who we thought
Right.
she was.
She was, yeah.
Yes, and just that was when I started like, oh my gosh, she's manipulating them. Like she's literally using words to get them to do what she wants them
She
to
wants
do.
him.
And when that scene happens, her reaction said a lot to me because she was a little shocked, like she was a little taken aback, but like
It's like, what the fuck?
if a real human had witnessed that, they would have been traumatized.
Right.
Like especially that gruesome of a suicide, and the fact that she just and Emma Stone is fucking brilliant to me.
She's so
She's
good.
one of my favorite actresses in Hollywood, and just her facial expressions after that point just completely, like, her face dropped. Like she didn't have to act anymore. She didn't have to
Hmm.
put on this show anymore. There was nobody watching. And the fact that then she walks into this room where she doesn't run up the stairs immediately and try to get out,
No.
which is, a normal human reaction to something like that happening. It's like, I got to get the fuck out of here. But no, she started exploring and she found this hidden room and she started looking at this footage and all these pictures that this guy had collected of her. It was almost like a shrine. And she was
Hmm.
like, yeah, they worship me, and I've everything that I've done so far is correct. And it was validated in that moment. And that's when I
Yeah.
started to kind of question, like, there's something wrong
Well,
here.
because they also framed that scene as like he was obviously experimenting with other people. So it almost made you think that in that moment, Michelle, Emma Stone's character, Michelle was exploring this room, but she was also like, I think she was impressed, but also they started showing pictures of other people that he had experimented on. And I think it almost made you want to question, is like, oh my God, this guy's fucking crazy. Like he's killed other people because he thinks they're aliens. And so you're like, no, like this guy, he needs to be stopped. And then he just killed his mom with antifreeze. Like he's a fucking idiot. Like he needs to think better. Like you start thinking to yourself, this guy's a fucking psychopath. And who gets back, he's going to end up killing Michelle and hopefully not get away with this. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's where you start to feel.
Hmm.
And then he gets there and she's like, how many of them were? I was like, what do you mean how many of them were?
Yeah. Yeah, that
And
scene had
then,
that double meaning, and I agree with you.
yes,
I think for the people who hadn't kind of clicked yet, I think
yeah,
that was the intended meaning. It's like, holy shit, this guy's a psycho. But in my mind, I was like, she's getting angry because he's killed others of her
others.
kind. And
Yes,
it's like this wall of fame, if you will, of all the people
right.
that he's been able to torture. And in her mind, I can see that click. I could see in Emma Stone's face, like, this guy's gonna pay. Like he's
Yeah.
killed a lot of my
But it's
people.
funny because also, and this is the brilliance of the writing, as soon as she gets out of that room and then he gets there and she questions him, it's like, how many of them were Andromedons? And he says, he's feeling like, what are you talking about? Like, it's almost like she's manipulating him
Hmm.
furthermore as a human Michelle to being like, I'm going to play into this because I need to get the fuck out of here. And they do such a good job of making you think that's what's going on, because all the way up until the ambulance, when she gets up and runs back, and you're like, what the fuck does she want to run back for? Like, she's a stupid idiot. Like, this girl deserves to die. And then she literally goes back to her spaceship. You're like, my God, this bitch was telling the truth the whole time.
The whole
She was
time.
telling the truth the whole time that they were going back to her office. And no wonder it seems like, Teddy was following. It was like you still saw him as this idiot. Why would you fall for this? Of course she's trying to trap you. Of course she's trying to. You're going into a closet. She's gonna call the cops. They're gonna come and grab you, you idiot. Why would you do that? The whole time you think to yourself like, Teddy, why are you being so dumb? But when you rewind it, you're like, no, Teddy believed her because he finally said
Yeah,
exactly what he knew. He knew.
exactly.
And so it was like, that's what was so brilliant. When it ended, I was like, that is brilliant. This Teddy was right the whole time.
The
And
whole
he actually
time.
captured Michelle, who ended up being of royal blood, but he was still pissed off because his whole goal was that he wants them to leave Earth alone. He wanted the Andromedans to leave. And so that was his whole goal. And so the funny thing is that he actually was succeeding in his goal.
Yeah.
And one would argue he succeeded because
Yeah.
she killed them all. She was like, fuck it, this experiment is bad. I
It's
hate
done.
that they didn't tell us what the aliens were saying, but I also think it was brilliant not to tell us, because I think the whole point is that, like, because the aliens are experimenting on Earth and this experiment is now officially invalid, they have to start over. So she destroys their atmosphere. Oh, by the way, Earth being flat, brilliant.
Loved
Earth
it.
being flat was an
Loved it.
additional
Yes.
layer of the fact that, like, these crazy people who believe in aliens
Conspiracy
also
theories.
believe in flat Earth. Also, yeah, it's like a combination of conspiracy theorists, and it's like, what if they were all right? What if they
Yeah,
were all
right?
right? That was the movie, and I was like,
Like,
that's
what if
fucking
we
great.
were manipulated into thinking the Earth is
Yeah.
round?
What if the Andromedans did exist? What if there is an atmosphere?
Yeah.
The whole notion of being a dome, like flat earthers believe that, like, there is no atmosphere, that if you try to go too high, you'll be destroyed by the whatever they call it. I don't even know what they call it, but they have a word for it. And you're like, when she finally breaks the seal and you know that it kills the atmosphere and everyone dies on Earth, and it's like, it's the reset. Maybe that's what we need. What if this was just to condition us into remembering that we're about to be reset? What if Yorgos is an Andromedan? See, this movie's dangerous.
Yeah. And I like something you said earlier when you were watching it, and you're like, well, if she really is an alien, that would be too ridiculous, right? But I think
Right.
they leaned into that so hard, because when she does get revealed as an alien, they go so hard on the ridiculousness that it
Yeah,
makes it like the conspiracy theory is the truth.
it's the
And
truth.
yeah, and I love that. Like when they go up to the space and she's wearing this ridiculous outfit and speaking this ridiculous language. I think that was on purpose. I think it was overdone on purpose to
Hmm.
prove the point that he was right all along. And oh my
Exactly.
God, I absolutely loved it. That's why I told you, if you watch one movie next, it needs to be Begonia.
I know. I was glad we chose Begonia, because I was like, we could have done one battle after another, because it's so important for me to watch this god awful movie, which is probably not god awful, but like, oh, we'll get to it.
How dare you?
I know. I'll just give me a minute. So, so it was. I really really wanted to see it, because I also wanted to be convinced that Yorgos is a good director. I wanted to be convinced, because I was like, please, come on, everybody praises this man, but how, or is everyone crazy? But then, and honestly, like, the thing about Yorgos's movies, for specifically for this one, is that he didn't write Begonia. So, and it was based on something else. So I think the general consensus, in my opinion, is that, like, Poor Things he didn't write, so he just directed it. So it's like, okay, well, maybe that's not necessarily Yorgos's mind being brought to life, but rather bringing someone else's vision with his own vision, attached to it.
Right.
And The Favorite he also didn't write. So maybe The Favorite is incredible because he's an incredible director. Same thing with Begonia. He's a great director. I don't know if he's a great writer, because I've never seen anything he's written, but I know he's a great director. So for me, it was really important to see Begonia. And I think the level of satisfaction that movie gives you, because it's
Yes.
not, to be fair, it's not the other pieces of it are not incredible. It's not incredible cinematography by any means. The set design is very basic, because it's in a
It's
house
a
in the middle of
basement.
nowhere. It's a
Yeah.
basement. There's no, so all these other elements, the movie relies strictly on its writing and its actors. If those two things aren't good, the movie's not good.
Yeah.
And Jesse
All the
Plemons,
pieces need to play. Yeah. No, I agree.
yeah,
They're phenomenal casting. Phenomenal
phenomenal.
casting.
I mean, Jesse Plemons, though. Jesse Plemons is an incredible actor. Um,
He
he,
he makes my skin crawl, man. Sometimes like
yeah,
his
he's,
performance is so fucking good as a psycho that, like, especially in Breaking Bad, to me that
yeah,
role was so brilliant because it was creepy. Like
yeah, yeah. I think it was really great. Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons was an incredible casting decisions. I think
yes.
Aiden Delbus as Don did a good job. I don't know if Don is autistic or Aiden is autistic himself, but like even if he played himself, he did a really good job of like delivering a performance that actually made you feel really bad for him. Cause like, and
Yeah.
that was a brilliant juxtaposition, right? Because
Yes.
you have this like crazy theorist who's like, he's just crazy. He's just a crazy guy who
Yeah.
believes in aliens. But then you have somebody who's clearly susceptible to this kind of manipulation.
And you see the empathy come through, like when you see this torture going on, like you can see the inner conflict. And I think
Yeah.
us as an audience, because there's such a juxtaposition between the two main characters, I think we are meant to think and feel the way Don does, because he's stuck
Right.
in the middle of it. So it's like, well,
Right.
he's saying this, and but then she's saying that, and it's like, and now when you're watching the torture happen, you can see the empathy, and you see the conflict. Like, you don't want to see this human woman go through this.
Exactly.
And yeah, no, it's brilliant because he's stuck right in the middle. And I think us as an audience relating to him, I think when he kills himself was really shocking.
Yeah. And I think that Don's, yeah, I agree with you. I think that Don was supposed to represent the audience. I think he was
Hmm.
supposed to represent us. He was like, we wouldn't want this. If this woman was actually human, we don't, well, we assumed she was the whole time. So like, we didn't want this woman to be tortured because this psychopath
Yeah,
thinks she's an alien. Like, we were against Jesse Plemons, but also we were against her. And it was that kind of conflict of like, yeah, but she's also a monster. So even if she's not
yeah,
an alien, she deserves to die. But then again, he's like, no, the reason you deserve to die is because you're an alien. And then it's like, but she's not an alien, dude. Like, chill out. And then Don is like, I don't know which one to believe.
yeah.
And
He's
then,
just stuck in
but
the
it's so
middle.
funny. It's one of those movies you should rewatch twice.
Hmm.
You should rewatch it once, get the full experience, enjoy the big reveal, and then go back and rewatch, because then you start to see like Jesse Plemons' characters and everything he said to Don, and including the fact that he was like, Don, don't listen to her. That's how she's manipulating you, is by crying because she knows that's going to gain your sympathy. He's not just saying that because he's crazy. He's saying that because she really is an
It's
alien
true.
manipulating you, Don.
He's
Stop letting
seen
her
it
manipulate
before.
you. He knows it. And so it's insane, dude. What a good movie, dude.
I loved it.
I left that movie thinking, wow, I know nothing. Like, that is incredible. And honestly, the writing is top tier. Like, and speaking of the writing and how incredible it was, I am curious to see Save the Green Planet, which is what it's based on. But I am also curious to see what other things Will Tracy will do, because Will Tracy is the one who did the screenplay. And even though he technically didn't write it, I think it's incredible screenplay writing is so undervalued. Like, just because you write the screenplay because it's an adaptation or it's because it's adapted from something else, like to me, being able to understand a story and then bring it into a script or a play that it can actually be filmed is the ability to see both mediums and be able to translate that is like incredibly difficult trait. Like, because you can
That's
take a
why it's
book.
its own category in the
Yeah,
Oscars. Like, screen adaptation is an art form. It
it
really
is
is.
an
It's
art
a
form
skill.
because it's hard. Like, you can read a book and you have images in your head, but how do you write that so that someone else can direct it and someone else can build it and someone else can do this? Like, you can, people do, but like
Yeah,
you as a
not very.
you as a peasant is never going to get there. You have to build that skill. And so I like speaking of the writing and speaking of how good it just felt, like it was written really well and the stories really well. I am curious to see how much of the Save the Green Planet is reflected in this movie, because I always think of this two examples, which are so ridiculous and gay, but I think of the examples of Mean Girls and of A Worst Prada. So when I watched Mean Girls, everyone watched Mean Girls, everyone loves Mean Girls. But when I got older, I was like, well, what the fuck is this book? And you read the book, nothing like the book, nothing like the movie.
Damn.
Literally, the book is basically a self-help book for young girls to be able to survive high school. The fact that Tina Fey took that book and said, "What if?" and then did this whole story based on this book is incredible. The same thing with Devil Wears Prada. Movie and book, completely different. So to
Yes.
be able to take the elements of the book and create this incredible movie that is now 20 plus years down the line, still revered as one of, an incredible movie, is such a huge feat that I'm curious to see what Save the Green Planet offered and what they were able to translate into this American version, because it's obviously not exactly the same. So what part of Save the Green Planet did they bring into the movie, and what parts did they leave out, and how well did they really formulate this story? So it's like, I always like to do that because I'm like, I'm just curious to know what the original.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was based on anything before this. I thought it was an original story, but yeah, now that I know that, I'm gonna have to go back and watch it and see what elements were brought into it. Yeah, and it's kind of like I don't know if you've seen Fahrenheit 451, where like the book is an allegory, like it's based on modern, you know, stigmas and racism and things like that, and it's so deep. It's a very rich story, but when they brought it into movie form, Michael B. Jordan is great, but he can't save this movie. It was horribly written, has nothing to do with what the book is.
That's hilarious. Couldn't save this movie.
They miss the point, and it's like you said, when something goes from book to screen, it needs to retain that spirit. It needs to retain that same, you know, the depth of the story. And that translation completely missed the point. They turned it into an action film just based in this environment, where in the book the environment is the point. Like
Right.
this era that this guy's living in, where they're burning books and, you know, a lot of stuff is happening. That is the story, and this guy just happens to live in that. So yeah,
Right.
no, it's definitely an art form, and it's not easy. It's not easy.
No, it's not. Honestly, so this movie being so good really got me torn. I don't think Begonia is going to win either. My prediction, hopefully, maybe not. I don't know. I'm torn. I think the thing about Best Picture nominees is that you also have to think about the gravitas that they have. And I think unfortunately Paul Thomas Anderson has too much gravitas. But I think out of all the movies, to be honest, I think Hamnet should win, which is the next movie we're going to talk
Really?
about.
Okay,
Dude,
yeah,
you
let's talk
saw
about
Hamnet,
that.
right?
That's one of the ones I have not seen. No.
Okay, so I won't say too much.
No, no, it's okay. I
No, I
know what
won't
the
say too much. I think yeah, you understand the concept of the movie, right?
yeah.
So it's actually also based on a book called Hamnet. And it's essentially, and I don't know, I don't think the book itself, it's a fictional account. So it's not a true account of what happened, but that doesn't matter because when you're watching the movie, it is a fascinating retelling of what could have been, or maybe it kind of was. So, and by the way, this is also a brilliant point in the movie. They don't tell you that's Shakespeare for a very long time in the movie, which I think is also really cool.
Really?
But yeah, so you're watching the movie, this man. Anyways, so the whole thing is that he is inspired to write Hamlet because of the death of his son Hamlet. And without speaking too much on the plot, because I do think that like you should go into it okay, first things first. I saw it in movie theater. I saw it in the theaters, obviously. I saw it in theaters, which is it's a double-edged sword because not only are you there to experience something incredible, hopefully something incredible,
Hmm.
but you're also there with other people. And so this sort of like room full of bodies kind of there are two things can happen. You know, like I tried to watch what movie? Oh, we went to see the Fantastic Four in IMAX, the new one. I had such a hard time getting through that movie because there were 4 or 5 people behind me who would not shut the fuck up. And they weren't
Man,
quiet. They weren't whispering. They were talking. And I wanted to murder
that
them.
sucks.
And so I have a really bad temper because, you know, Puerto Ricans, we notoriously have something wrong with our brains. So I have a very bad temper. And the way that I was tested for 3 hours. I was tested. Like whatever external being in the sky was like poking at me that day. He was just like, yeah, you're gonna get mad? Are you
Yeah.
mad? Are you mad? Are you mad? Are you mad? I was like, that's how it felt.
Oh
So there
my
is this double-edged
God.
sword. Like when you go into the movie and you're about to experience something that hopefully is
Hmm.
incredible, you're also afraid of like the other bodies in the room ruining it for you. This movie was so captivating. I don't think I even remember a single person's breathe. Like
Damn.
we were all just like locked in. And the movie isn't an action. This movie is an emotional retelling of the death of a person that inspires this incredible work by another. And the most important thing to take away from Hamnet, if you take nothing else away, not from the story, not from everything, just the filmmaking aspects of it, the acting, the whatever, to me was the fact that this woman named Jessie Buckley, who, by the way, to me came out of nowhere. Well, who the fuck is Jessie Buckley? Never heard of her in my life. She has a great career, from my understanding. She was in Women Talking. She was in
Which is brilliant, by
Women
the way.
Talking.
Yeah.
She was in Women Talking. You know,
Okay, great.
so like I don't know. I really don't, I'm not familiar with her body of work, but then this woman's performance, it was so good it outshadowed what's his name?
Really?
Outshadowed Paul Mescal. Like Paul Mescal was
Wow.
great, but
Yeah.
Jessie Buckley's performance is so I can't even describe to you how this woman embodied this character of Agnes. Like She just is Agnes. And so the whole time you're watching this play out, you're watching these stories, you're connecting with these characters, you're connecting with this. And they, somebody put it as like, it's just grief porn. And I'm like, that's belittling the actual storytelling, because the fact of the matter is that grief is such a strong grief is hard to deal with. Grief is something we don't really like to talk about, because as we recently know, it's one of those things that, like, you don't get past it. You never get
No.
past it. Everyone talks about it. Grief is one of the craziest parts of life where you have to grow around it.
Yeah, I've heard the saying, grief never heals, you just grow around it. It's something that
Yeah.
you just learn to live with and it makes you stronger over time. But yeah, it's that hole is always gonna be there.
Always. And I think that's why it's so incredible. And then, dude, just like I said, we were in the movie theater. I saw it with the movie. There was a bunch of bodies around me. That was like, I was phased out. The only person that existed in that moment was my husband, who was sitting next to me watching the movie. I kid you not. The movie ends. The first, directed by comes up, burst out crying in the entire theater. I was
Wow.
sobbing. I was sobbing. Like, me and my husband held each other. The person next to him was just crying so hard into his jacket. The lady next to me was just like wiping away her tears.
Oh
I
my
was like,
God.
we all were affected by this movie. And I think that level of just like like gripping at your heart and then held onto you for 2 hours and then releases you to feel your feelings, that is hard. That is
Wow.
hard. There's only one movie in the last 10 years that I can remember making me feel that connected and that heartfelt, and it was Call Me by Your Name, and it's because I'm gay. Like, if it weren't for that, I don't know if I would have connected as strongly to that movie. And I remember watching Call Me by Your Name in movie theater with my friend, who, mind you, I think we sat like one seat apart, not because we were like that. It was just like the fact that we were sitting in the back row and there were so many seats, like we didn't need to sit right next to each other. I'll never forget. There's a moment in the movie where his dad talks to Timothy's character, and it's this really incredible, like, just a speech about about love, and it's so beautiful. And I remember starting to really like heart feeling that. But it was so close to the end of the movie that by the time the last shot happens, I could see him leaning away from me, and I was leaning away from him, and we were
Oh.
just like crying. I was just like, I was like, it was so funny, but I was like, it's so hard to do that. That is a very hard thing to do, because you're going through a medium of fiction. Like, these people don't exist. This isn't actually happening. Like, chill the fuck out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like when my sister cried when Benji fell off the cliff. I
Yes.
was like, why are you crying? The dog's fine. He's just
It's
an
just a
actor.
dog. Yeah.
It's just a dog. But it's hard. And so I think for me, just because of, like, I think that the directing, the acting, the set, it had every piece of an incredible movie, including being able to just like it reaches into your heart and it says, yeah, all right, now
Like
cry,
rips your heart out.
motherfucker. It's just like, yeah, you're not gonna feel joy today. I just love that shit. And I think I think every nominee so far has had their versions of incredible, we're talking about Frankenstein and Begonia and Sinners. Like, we have these incredible movies that have so many elements. But for me, having an emotional connection to a movie is just as important as entertainment. I loved Begonia. I think there was an incredible reveal. I think it was a fun ride. I think Marty Supreme gave me everything I needed to feel stressed about being ambitious. I love all the cultural references and the incredible like connection to that time period. Also, I love vampires. So Sinners was incredible. Train Dreams was an incredible story about a man's life in an ever-changing world. I mean, Secret Agent was an incredible movie written in a way that you're like, why would this movie shouldn't work, but it does. It's like these movies have these things that are just like they capture you. But Hamnet, being able to sit in that theater in silence and finish that movie changed. I was like, I left that movie
Wow.
theater and I was like, dude, this movie is fucking incredible. And I was sobbing. I was
Wow.
like, I don't know. To me, that just speaks volumes to the type of movie it is. And
into the
If it doesn't,
filmmaking. It's not just the
yeah,
cinematography and the acting and everything. It's how it all comes together and it makes you feel at the end of the day. Because that's why we go to the movies, right? Is to feel and
yeah,
feel.
yes, exactly. And she also, so Chloe Zhao is also known for Nomadland. I don't know if you've ever
Hmm.
seen Nomadland. I've never seen it, but I do know that at the time of its release, it was also reviewed as an incredible, like it got great responses. I mean, they had a list of accolades, and to me, Chloe has presented herself as a great director to start off with. She also did Eternals, which I think is funny. Have you ever seen Eternals, the Marvel
Yeah,
movie?
that is that is interesting.
It was such a weird No Man's Land Eternals, and you're just like, what?
Yeah.
So it's
Out
really
of
hard.
left
And for
field.
me, yeah, for me, a Marvel movie is really hard to distinguish someone's ability to direct a film, only because Marvel movies or superhero movies really rely on capturing the superhero element of it all, which
Mhm.
has to include lots of action, lots of, you know,
Yeah.
power usage, whatever. I do think the story of Eternals is really cool, but I also think that because it failed so hard, it was kind of hard to be like, whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, all right, well, let's not, because we'll forget that you did Eternals. But then 4 years later to do Hamnet, it's just like, "Oh, right, right. You're a good
Wow.
director. I forgot about that." You know? um, I don't know. That's my
Wow.
take on Hamnet being considered, should be considered. If it doesn't win, I'm not going to be upset. I'm glad that it was nominated. I just hope Jessie Buckley wins Best Actress. She already
Yeah.
won the BAFTA, I think it was. I know she won another award for it, but dude, she deserves it. She deserves it.
Wow.
Emma Stone is great, but dude, please watch it. And
Yeah.
I'm overhyping it. So do yourself a favor. Don't watch it by yourself in a dark room, no kids, no distractions. Just sit there and experience the movie. And if you don't leave crying, like a person that I
You're a
know
heartless human being.
yeah, I was like, I talked to somebody recently and she was like, "Oh, I didn't cry." And I was like, "Okay, so therapy, you're going to find yourself a therapist, and then you're going to start taking medication for fixing your cold heart. Because what do you mean you didn't cry?" Also, the person that I talked to had experienced loss of their own child. So I think, and then she did mention, she was like, I just think that if I get into that headspace, I can't get out. So I think I just blocked it out.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, that's
So
fair.
it's more
But
trauma based. Yeah.
yeah, it was trauma based on her end. But, like at least for, if people who have experienced grief and loss can truly connect with it, even though I didn't feel like at the time I could truly connect about that, it didn't matter because Jesse made me believe that I had lost my son. Like
Wow.
that's how connected I felt to the story. So watch it in a dark room, no
Yes. No, I'll
distractions,
probably watch it tonight. Yeah.
just
Before the Oscars.
give yourself some time to, experience it. Go full-heartedly thinking, all right, I'm not gonna cry, but like, let's just see how good this movie is. Like, don't let my
And
hype
just let the movie
like
just rip my
affect.
heart
Just let
out.
the movie happen. Just let the movie happen. And if it rips your heart out and you tell me you cried, I will believe that you're a human being and not Emma Stone in Begonia.
Okay.
Because I'm like, there must be some Andromedons in this country. Because what do you mean you didn't cry?
So it goes from your pick. I'm assuming Hamnet is your pick for Best Picture.
Yes, and let me guess, your pick is one
My
battle
pick
after
for
another.
Best Picture is One Battle After Another.
All right, but also remember, I don't want any spoilers. So do not say a single thing about what happens
Yes.
in the movie. But
Yes.
please tell me why you think it's going to be good,
Okay.
which is
So
probably going to win. So let's
yes,
just talk about it that way.
I believe it is. I mean, I haven't seen Hamnet, so I don't know. I
Yeah,
guess
but
I'll be a better judge tonight. But
look, before you even start, we just have to remember one thing. PTA, Paul Thomas Anderson, he gets his dick sucked by the entire Academy every fucking time he makes a movie. And don't get me wrong. Boogie Nights, Magnolia, Punch Drunk Love, There Will Be Blood, The Master, Inherent Vice, Phantom Thread, Licorice Pizza. Every single movie he's ever done hits one after another.
so
Do not get me
hard.
wrong. I'm
Yes.
sure it's great, but
But
I just have a problem with directors or people in Hollywood who get their dick sucked so hard because I'm just like, okay, so we're just going to nominate it because it's PTA. Is that what we're doing? Okay, great. Let's just put it on the fucking nominations. That's fine. Also, I'm over Leo. Leo DiCaprio let's just fucking find another career. We have too many
it's like
movies to
another
do. So
Brad Pitt. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So when I saw both of those names, I was like, I don't fucking want to watch this. Anyways, continue.
That being said,
I needed to let it out. I haven't spoken to anyone about
yes.
this.
That being said, I love Leo. And I think he's one of the greatest
No,
actors that
he's
is
good.
alive right
Yeah,
now
yeah,
because of his range. Just
yeah.
looking at the life of his work, man, he plays a different character every single
Yeah.
time, and he hits it so well. He's one of those people that, and I don't know if you've seen the Wolf of Wall Street behind the scenes where he's like in character even before they yell action. Like he's just so into it, and that's what I appreciate about it, because he gets into the character so well that by the end of the movie you believe it's this guy. Like you don't even see Leo anymore, at least I don't. And this movie to me, when I watched the trailer, and I actually watched the honest trailer as well before actually watching
Before
it.
you watch the movie?
Yes. So it
Really?
didn't spoil a lot of it going into it, but just going into it, watching those two things, I thought it was going to be one thing, but it turned out to be a completely other thing. Kind of like Begonia, right? So it starts as this overtly, what did honest trailers call it? Relevant. Is the most relevant movie I have ever seen in my life, because it starts with a group of rebels fighting against what we can assume is ICE. It doesn't say ICE on their uniform, but it's, you know, they're running this concentration camp of immigrants. They're rounding up all the immigrants. They're putting them into this camp. And then there's this rebel force just fighting as much as they can because there's such a little group. Like it you think the movie is going in one way, and there's just like Marty Supreme, in the sense that there's so much chaos happening, you don't know what the actual plot of the movie is, because it pulls you this way and it pulls you that way, and there's so much unknown, and then things start to fall, and then you start to realize what the story really is about. And
Okay.
it's hard to not spoil it because it's such a big
Don't
part of the
do it.
movie. It's such a big part of the movie, but
No.
the movie is not about the relevance, and it's not about the racism, it's not about the you know,
It's not what you
the
think it is when you
the
first start
immigrants.
watching
Yeah,
it.
it's not that at all. And when it gets revealed in the end what the movie's actually about, like, and again, I don't want to say too much
Don't say
because it's
anything.
going to spoil it,
No, no, no.
but it hit me so hard because I personally relate to a lot of what Leo goes through in this movie. And there's something at the very end, and I won't go into spoilers because I don't want to spoil it for you. I want you to go into this just like you want me to go into Hamnet, not
Mhm.
knowing. Like, I want you to go into this movie not knowing much about it, because when that reveal happens, it's gonna rip your heart out. I was sobbing at the end of this movie. Going into it,
Really?
yeah, going into it thinking it's an action movie and Leo and, you know, the explosions and Michael Bay style, like,
That's what I think it is too.
it's not that at all. And
Interesting.
then, like, the pacing of it too was brilliant, because in the beginning there is so much happening and chaos and cutting here and cutting there, and you're almost lost in the chaos. Like, you don't really know what's going on, but once it starts to slow down and you realize what the story is about, like, it just, the pacing slows down so much, and you spend so much time with the characters and what they're feeling and what they're going through, and it's absolutely brilliant. Cinematography, again, absolutely stunning. It's a
Yeah.
work of art. Like, in the end, I won't go into too much detail, but there is a chase scene at the very end, and there's three cars, so there's three characters going after each other. Some of them don't know that they're being chased, so it's kind of like a juxtaposition there. But just the cinematography of it, because I believe it was filmed in New Mexico or somewhere out west where there's a lot of hills, and one of the longer scenes where it builds up to this crescendo that happens at the very end of the movie is going through those hills, and the cars are going in and out of view, and the way that it's shot is so brilliant, because it builds on that anticipation of, like, wait, I can't see them for a while until they come back up to the top of the hill. And the camera's so low on the cars when they go up the hill, all you see is road, and then it gets revealed. It's timed perfectly, and I personally think it's gonna be the one that wins. Again, I haven't seen Hamnet, so I don't know, but just from what I got from it is probably the same thing that you got from Hamnet. And
Yeah.
maybe it is because I relate a lot more to the Leo character than you probably will, and you'll know what I mean when you watch the
Inevitably
movie.
watch it.
But yeah, I think that's the part that hit the hardest for me, and just the fact that that's what the movie was about the entire time. Like, they go back and they have this montage of all these scenes that happen throughout the movie
Oh,
that
I love when people
tell
do
you,
that. Okay,
yes.
okay, okay, okay.
Oh my
Don't say
God, it
much.
was so
Shut
perfect.
up. Shut
So
up.
perfect.
All right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. I'll watch it. I'll watch it.
Yes, and it's
But
not just a drama, it's action, it's
I know
adventure,
I heard.
it's emotional, it's family, it's everything, and it ends so perfectly well. And just Leo in the beginning of the movie and Leo at the end of the movie, or whatever his character's name was, completely different. Like there's such a drastic change in who he is as a person and who he inevitably lives with, that it's just I don't know, man. I don't know how to else to explain it without spoiling it, but it's a work of art. It's a piece of cinema.
I was like, maybe I should have done One Battle with Another yesterday instead.
Yes, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with a drama that rips your heart out. I love movies like that. I mean, to me, The Last of Us is a drama that ripped my heart out. Literally, like I was sobbing at the end of that.
Damn it! Now I have to watch
So,
that too.
so yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I love movies like that, and I'm sure Hamnet is gonna hit that chord for me, and I can't wait. I love having my heart ripped out by movies, but
Me too.
one battle after another, man. I don't know.
Damn.
It just has it all. It has the cinematography. It has the acting. It has the suspense and the drama and the everything, and it just comes together so well, so satisfying in the end. That yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be hard to beat.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess I'll watch this godforsaken movie. And look, to be honest, like it's funny because speaking of judging F1, right? Because I'm
Mhm.
judging F1 based on its, the merit of the people working on it. I do think that Paul Thomas Anderson is an incredible director, based solely on the fact that I've only ever seen like two of his other movies. I don't. There Will Be Blood is incredible. Like it is. That movie alone should tell you how good PTA is. But
Wow.
you've ever seen There Will Be Blood?
No.
You should watch There Will Be Blood. It
I'll
was.
write it down.
I remember when it came out. Was actually didn't see it when it came out because I was too young at the time to care. But when I went to college and I was in film school, a bunch of the people that I went to film school with were like, "Hey, we're gonna go see There Will Be Blood at our house. Do you want to come?" And I was like, "All right, sure. I mean, I don't know what the fuck that is, but I'll go watch it with you." And I left that house being like, "Damn, that was a really. I think I really want to do this for a living." You know what I mean? It's one of those movies you're like, "Wow, this is like." That's like it's just so well done. It's such a good movie that like you're inspired to want to want to do something like that as a filmmaker, as somebody who
Yeah.
went to film school. So at the time it was just like that inspiring, but it was just like it's just so incredibly well done, like from top to bottom. So knowing that There Will Be Blood was something that like really, I was like, it should make me excited. But I think what didn't make me excited initially about One Battle After Another is that it's one of those movies that's just like, it's gotten so much hype and it looks like a, when you first, because you don't know the movie, they have to market it to
Yeah.
you so you go watch it, right? And so the
Yes.
marketing was very geared to this idea that it's like, I don't want to watch a pew pew movie and then have it be nominated for Oscar. And you're like, for what? So being another Transformers movie? Like, I don't want to watch like a bunch of shit go down. And then we're like, hyping up a special effects movie. That's so stupid because I don't think, in my personal opinion, I don't think that Best Picture nominees should be. They should be movies that have incredible writing, directing, acting, cinematography. Like they should be incredible in multiple parts of that. If it's just fun and action, that's not a good movie. Like just because
Yes.
I had a lot of fun and there was a lot of blowing up and a lot of like, so much budget because we just blew up like six cars. That's not who gives a shit?
I tell people all the time, we get into this argument where the revenue, the amount of money that the movie has made has nothing to do with the quality of the movie. That just
No.
means that it was marketed well and people received it well. That doesn't mean it's a good movie. And it's sad that a lot of these lesser known movies are so much better than those, but they don't get the recognition because they don't have the big budgets or whatever. I think that's what Marty Scorsese was saying when he came out and he said that he doesn't think the MCU is Hollywood. He doesn't think it's cinema.
Oh.
It's more, what is the word? It's more show. It's more like in your face action and blowing up, and it's a fun movie. Yes, and it's good to go
Fun.
see it in a movie theater with other nerds and other people that enjoy it as you're standing in front of a bunch of Marvel shit.
I agree.
It's a fun movie, but it's not cinema. There is a difference, and I agree with him in that sense.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that that's when the Transformer movies are coming out, and fuck that guy. What's his name?
Michael Bay.
Michael Bay. Fuck Michael Bay. But like when those movies were out and people were just like, "These are the best movies ever," I'm like, "You guys are all fucking idiots," and I'm like, But I don't like to
It's
judge people
all
based on their
spectacle.
taste. It's all spectacle because I don't like to judge people based on their taste because I do think that there's something to be said about like the joy that you get from a movie should be objective. Like if you truly love the Transformer movies because you love Transformers or you like the pew pews, like if that's what you like and you enjoy that, then I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy it. What I'm saying is that like for me to call Transformers the best movie in the world is a that's a big thing to say. And
That's a
I'm using
disservice to all the
Transformers
people. Yeah.
exactly. I'm using Transformers as an example because it's the most
Yeah.
recent moment of mind melt that I could think of that people were like hyping it up. Like I actually went to go see, I think it was like the one with the racist robots, whichever one that was. Went to go see it in theaters with a friend of mine in college, and we both walked out as soon as that scene was over. We were like, "No, we're not
Wow.
doing this. This movie's
Fuck
fucking
this.
trash. Fuck this. This is." And we only went to the movie theater because of one person that we were going with. So it was like three of us. No, two of us were just there to support our friend, but our friend was like, "Oh, I love the Transformers movies," and so we were like, "All right, we'll go see this god awful movie." We left. We're like, "We can't. Sorry, dude. Bye."
My God.
We're not doing this. And it was funny because it was also Puerto Ricans. It was like two Puerto Rican guys left the white guy to go watch this racist ass movie. But it was funny because I was like, to me, I agree with that. I think that just because objectively enjoying a movie doesn't mean it's great. And to call something great does a disservice to the rest of the movies that are actually great. Because there's nothing wrong with the movie being fun and exciting and awesome and big and IMAX and whatever, but like just because it's all of that doesn't make it a good movie. Just because you're
Correct.
enjoying it does not making it a good movie. And I don't think that there's something to be said. It is a very hard argument. It's an argument I have a lot about like good versus bad is not real. I don't believe in that. I don't think that is a good movie versus a bad movie. I think the what we're looking for, the verbiage we're looking for is a well made, cohesive, well produced, well directed, well acted. Those are the things, those are the sort of the
Well
indicators
rounded.
of what well
Yeah.
rounded. Now there's an indicators of what make a movie quote good. But I don't think that like there's necessarily good and bad movies. I just think that there's some there's some exceptions to that. Like what is The Room? Is that the movie that everyone references
Yes.
as one of the worst movies ever?
What? Oh, hell. I love The Room. See, so it's subjective. So,
Because what is it that Tommy Wiseau, it's a horrible movie. But that or they say Showgirls, right? Was it Showgirls? No. Yeah, yeah, Showgirls with Elizabeth Berkley. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
yeah, they're saying
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
bad movie.
No, yeah, like that's considered one of the worst movies ever made. And so it's just like and it's like a 24% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh
But the
my
truth is that
God.
like I would watch Showgirls any day. You could put Showgirls on anytime. That is hilarious. Everybody got AIDS and shit. It's so fucking brilliant. So good. So it's just like entertainment and the value that you have to a movie doesn't
Yes.
make it good or bad. But I think when it comes to something like the Oscars, when it comes to something like BAFTA, like to nominate a movie based on its revenue, based on how much money it made, based on how, many people went to go see it, based on the five people who are
The
like, this is one
numbers.
of the best
Yeah.
movies ever. Yeah, like that's not fair. Because if that were the case, movies like Hamnet wouldn't get recognized, and the movies like Train Dreams or Sentimental Value or Begonia, like all of these different movies that have very niche sort of taste to them. There's a certain je ne sais quoi that they have that would never be made again. Because why? Why would they make a
Yeah.
Hamnet if it's not going to get recognized? And if you don't get recognized at the Oscars, you don't really exist. And so at the end of the day, the competition to be nominated for something like that is not about good or bad, but about how much passion and love you're going to give to a movie. And when you give it, and you're nominated or you win or you're just nominated for the honor of being nominated, it truly forces the next person down the line to be like, shit, I want to make something like that. You
Yeah.
know, it's the argument that we have about innovation,
Mhm.
like why, if Apple's not going to make a foldable phone, why the fuck should I stick with Apple?
It always goes back to that. It
So the
always
theme
goes
of this
back to that.
episode is, should I get the Samsung Z Fold? This whole
Oh
episode
my
has been brought to
God.
you by Tell Me What I Should
By
Do.
Samsung. Oh my God. All right, so there you have it. There's our predictions. I think One Battle After Another is gonna win. You think Hamnet's gonna win? Maybe, Sinners is gonna win. Who knows?
Yeah. I do
I
think like if
guess
you had to make a top three, which one would be your top three? Well, 2 and 3. I know you're top 1, but
Yeah, I think from 1 to 3 it will be one battle after another. I think Sinners is number 2, and then it's either between Frankenstein and Begonia for number
yeah, I
3.
agree. I agree with
Yeah,
that. Based on the ones that you've seen, I agree with that. I
yes.
think it should either be. I think it'll either be Hamnet. Well, I think it's still going to be one battle after another. But if I had to choose, like if it were up to me, I haven't seen one battle after another. But let's say like I think that's the one that's going to win for
Hmm.
sure. But I would think like Hamnet, Frankenstein, Sinners, or Begonia. Those are really like my 4 out of the 10,
Okay.
because I do think that the other ones will have incredible value. And I haven't seen sentimental value, but like they do have, they have great storytelling. I think that they don't hold up to sort of the experience that I got from those versus, like
Agreed.
Train Dreams was great, but Secret Agent was better, but Begonia was better, but Frankenstein
Yeah.
was better. You know what I mean? Like it just keeps stacking up that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm gonna watch them all eventually. Hopefully before the Oscars. I'm gonna have a movie night tomorrow, or a movie day tomorrow before the Oscars, so I'll be all caught up. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it's been such a long time since we have this great of a lineup for Best Picture that it's kind of hard to predict. Before it was like, oh yeah, no doubt this one's gonna win. It's already won all the other BAFTA awards or whatever, so this is gonna be the one that wins. But I think this year is so hard to tell because there's so many good movies that came out this year. And I'm just glad we didn't have another writer's strike, because that would have definitely
Well,
hurt the selection.
from what I hear, there's already another one starting or started
Oh,
this year. So who knows what
no.
next year is going to look like, but it's okay. They deserve to be paid.
Yeah.
As much as I think that the strike should happen and people should fight for the writers, because what the fuck else would we have? Like, we don't have
Yeah.
movies without writers.
Right.
Please stop, because I need you to write.
For real.
I need you to. Every time it's a bad writer's strike, the season is always terrible. And we're like, is this it? Have we reached the pinnacle of filmmaking?
But that goes to show that, we need the writers. Like something written, especially now with AI, something written by AI is not going to have the soul and the depth of a human written story, because AI, as much as good as it is at writing, it doesn't understand the human experience. And I think that's
Right.
what makes a movie a great movie, is something
I
that
agree.
makes you think about that human experience that only we can, relate to, basically.
I agree. And honestly, like for me, the thing about writing is the nuance and the specific sort of, the metaphorical way that you can write something and have some deeper meaning to it. I don't know if AI can do that. I think AI can regurgitate based on learning a bunch of different words, but I don't think AI can truly capture like, I'm going to write it this way or do it this way because it means something different. Like, I don't think it can do that. Maybe we could train it to, but why would we want to do that?
Yeah. No, at the end of the day, it's gonna be a regurgitation and recycling of other work that's put together. There's not gonna be an original thought in there. And
Right.
I think that's where the line is drawn. And I think not only in Hollywood, in the film sense, but also in music, I think there in the future there is going to be a place. And I love how we just ended up on AI anyway.
I love
On
it.
an Oscars
This show
podcast.
should just be called AI Podcast.
Yeah, literally. But I think because there's so much slop out there, I think there is going to be a niche for this AI generated stuff. I really do. But I think that's going to not degrade the human art. I think that's going to give more value to it because it's going to be so rare,
I agree. It's
I
also gonna be
think
so
if
bad that, like, in comparison, the human creation is gonna be so much better that we're not gonna
exactly.
want the AI stuff.
Exactly. And I was actually interviewing a filmmaker, Wallonius Hatcher. He makes AI movies. And he says the same thing. It's like there is a place for AI. Like one great example that he gave is if you're gonna have a dinner party and you just want some jazz music in the background that maybe has the names of the guests that you've invited, just to have something a little custom, something in the background running. Absolutely. AI generated. But AI is not going to generate something that's going to move and change society and be performed in front of millions of people. There's going to be the two camps. And I think there's space for both. I think it's not all doom and gloom. AI is not going to replace musicians. AI is not going to replace actors. There is going to be a place for both, I think, in the future. So
Sure. I can I
yeah,
can I can agree to that
we'll
for
see.
sure. Okay. So, with that being said, to close it out, I kind of wanted to, so, speaking of AI, I wanted to see what the the consensus of everything that's been going on, what the predictions might be. Based on what I saw, One Battle After Another is a forerunner because the PGA Awards, the Producers Guild Awards, has always accurately predicted the Best Picture winner in the last 17 out of the last 22 years. So if it wins the award for the PGA, it likely wins the Oscar. And it did win the PGA Award.
Mm-hmm.
BAFTA also gave it Best Picture, DGA. Paul Thomas Anderson got the DGA for Directors Guild Award. The Golden Globes gave it the Best Motion Picture. So a prediction is pretty
So
much
Hollywood
like
is
one
on
battle
my
after
side,
another.
is what you're saying. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. The challenger, the challenger for this year is obviously Sinners, based on the SAG Awards, and just other wins for Best Original Screenplay and stuff like that. So it could be either Sinners or One Battle After Another, but let's be real, it's gonna be One Battle After Another. Then I asked, what about Best Actor or Actress, which was crazy because we would be here for days, but like we
Yeah.
didn't really talk about all the other ones that were nominated based on just like the actor or the actress, just like the fact that like maybe the movie wasn't nominated, but the actors were. And I mean, it's a pretty good prediction that Michael B. Jordan is going to win lead actor or Timothy Chalamet, but most likely Michael B. Jordan. Sean Penn for supporting actor for One Battle After Another, maybe Delroy Lindo from Sinners. And then there's a possibility that it'll be supporting actress, sorry, Amy Madigan for Weapons, which I think makes sense, but it could also be Tiana Taylor because of One Battle After Another. And still, the best prediction for Best Actress is Jessie Buckley. And I swear on
If she
everyone,
doesn't win,
if the United States wants to maintain its economy, she better win. Otherwise, I will start learning how to hack the
I'll
system.
burn this place to the
I'm
ground.
gonna burn this place to the ground. I mean, she won the SAG award, she won the BAFTA award, she won the Golden Globe award. And so, and then Sean Penn won the SAG and BAFTA, and then
For Best Supporting?
for Best Supporting,
Oh, he was great.
Amy Madigan won the SAG award, but I know that Tiana Taylor won the Golden Globe. And that was her breakout moment because it was, I think, it was the first time she's won a big award like that. So I don't know. Based on those predictions, I think those are true. I think it'll be Jesse, Michael, Sean, and Amy, or Sean and Tayana. And then I think for sure One Battle After Another is going to win. And then there's a possibility the best director is going to go to Paul Thomas Anderson. If director goes to Paul Thomas Anderson, best picture is going to be One Battle After Another. There's no
for
doubt about
sure.
it.
Yeah.
Like it is the way it's going to be. I do appreciate though, no matter what, I do appreciate that they were nominated. I appreciate that Chloe Zhao is being recognized by other actors. I don't know if you've seen interviews with her and other actors, other people in the industry have personally voiced to her personally how incredible the movie was and how well
Wow.
she did. And so I think that like,
That's
you know,
validation right there. Yeah. So
it's
even if she doesn't
validation.
win, yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
I think validating anyone for their talent is just as important as giving them an award. And so I think that like, with that being said, I think that like once we get to tomorrow and we see all of the awards probably go exactly as we predicted because we're brilliant. I think that like I think that it'll just be satisfying to know that no matter what, the nominees this year were incredible. And I think any of them would deserve it, but hopefully the ones who deserve it the most actually get recognized, not based on politics, not based on anything else, just based on merit, which is not always the case.
Right.
And
Right.
somebody asked, so I was like, wait, is there a Holocaust movie nominated this year? And I was like, no, thank God, because it always wins.
Yes. War and the Holocaust. Those are two movies that always win Best Picture.
Always
so.
win. Just if you want to win an Oscar, do a Holocaust movie. And that was a skit. That was a skit that was done. There was a skit with what is her name from Titanic?
Kate Winslet.
Kate Winslet. There was a Kate Winslet skit where she says that. She was like, well, I'm just doing this movie because I want an Oscar. Yeah, if you do a Holocaust movie, you get an Oscar. And then ironically, she did a Holocaust movie and won the Oscar.
And won.
So it was funny because she was like, shit, like that skit just like, it was like art imitates life. It was
Yeah.
hilarious.
That's great.
So yeah, I'm excited for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Main theme, I'm excited.
Same. Yeah. So grab your popcorn, watch the Oscars, leave your predictions down in the description below. If you're watching this on Oscar day, just Let us know what you think. If you want more content like this, just let us know. And you can always follow us on social media at Blue Box Podcast. And yeah, man, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And we'll come back in the next episode and we'll talk about the results.
Absolutely. Also, because the main theme of this podcast is essentially, should I get the Samsung Z Fold? Please also continue to let me know what I should do. All right.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us.